trying to stay alive at the moment. Rescue on Sam to get a fear on the flame. Rosita gets interrupted, fire breath channel by Zenu, and that's gonna close it.
Hammer of Justice lands, and that's gonna be game 1 to Luminosity.
The dragon will succumb to the temptation. And unleash the aspect's darkest nightmares.
Control sends the damage. Huge damage coming in. Double kill. That's it. Good night. A lot of devastation right now. Full blind onto Asgraf. Zeebai could easily go down. Can they purge the blessing of protection? They do manage to. There's the kidney shot. Are they going to be able to take him down at the same time, though? Waz gets disarmed. He's down to 1% health. Can he survive? No, not this time, Waz.
Well, Drake, I don't think he survives the next crowd control on Brain. He's trying to run away. He's just dying. Jellybeans is absolutely blasting, and he's got the Sentinel out. He's shooting through the fence line right now. His entire team can shoot through pillars. Insane usage of that spell right there, and they managed to close it out. Here comes the Spear Bastion onto Wallace. He's got no evasion. He's caught in this. Bladestorm is cutting him down here. Here's the double stun. They need to keep the massive spell. Can they take Drake down in the scatter shot? They can!
It is cup number 3 of the 2nd season of AWC Shadowlands. My name is Aya. I just said Shadowlands Dragonflight, excuse me. What year is it? I'm with Zika, Baruki, and Supatees. Welcome back, everyone. We are in our 3rd cup. Like I said, we are just chugging along here. Teams only have 2 more weekends to make it into the top 3. Of course, if they do not, they will be going to that relegation cup then, and competition is ramping up.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like you mentioned, there's only a few more chances for these teams, and the competition is at an all-time high. You can see here how the format's going to be working this year. If you've been watching, you're probably familiar with it. If not, we can go over it. There's 4 cups available to these teams to earn points. Depending on how many points they earn, they'll either be automatically seeded into the grand finals or put into the AWC Gauntlet if they do happen to make it into the top 8. And the AWC Gauntlet is a lot of fun. You have basically 4th through 8th going into a battle. The winner of it ends up making it into the grand finals. But if you're that team, if you're in that 7th or 8th position, you basically have to win 1, 2, 3, 4 series in order to make it against the finals, or make it into the finals, which is not an easy thing to do because you're going to be playing against basically the best teams in the region to get there.
Yeah, these teams are definitely feeling that pressure, I am sure. Here is where we currently are in terms of standings for EU after the first 2 cups. We've got Echo in 1st, Admirals Esports in 2nd, Agents in 3rd, and Supatees. When you were looking at the kind of pool of teams we had in the EU region, is this sort of how you expected things to be lined up at this point in time?
Oh. Yeah, Echo, Admirals Esports, and the Agents, they're all 3 teams that you would expect in Europe to be in the top 3, given their track records, their composition pools, all phenomenal teams, as you would expect. When it comes to that 4th position, though, it seems like it's really open season for almost any team, even in 10th place, to have a good opportunity of snagging it away, considering the fact that Nicebeam, who is currently 4th, has not made it to the top 8 this week. Gives a really good opportunity for Bamboozle, who has now made a return, Casual Granddads in the lower side, to really have a good shot, and even Caster, Meta, or MyWay to have a good shot of taking their spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of around this time period, Zico, that we sort of start to see those teams that are sort of hovering right on that line of making it or not just really start to shuffle around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for the top 3, we're starting to see it form a little bit, but, a lot of these teams, they need to finish strong. They're going to need to have a great tournament here. And also, there is some opportunities here for some of these teams to actually climb up here in the standings. I'm looking at that 5th place, for example. Bamboozle, Casual Granddads, they have a shot here at actually grabbing some of those spots, with a team like the Fiends, which is also tied to them in that 5th position. Not being here, they didn't make it to that top 8. So that's going to leave a big opening potentially for them to go and grab that. Same thing goes for Nice Beam in 4th. They're not going to be here really to defend their position either. So there's a lot of opportunities here in that 5th place position to try and yoink that spot that the agents are currently holding in 3rd. And also not just the top 3, the top 8 in general. Like the cutoff is only 40 points. The signups are currently open, and they will be closing on Sunday for that final cup. So make sure that you sign up, get the Thundering banner of the Aspect, and have a shot at potentially making it to that top 8. Because last year we had a team that the bots, they almost qualified to the Gauntlet, only placing in that last cup, like only playing that last cup. So the dream of a dream could happen.
Yep, that could be you. Definitely go check out those signups. A lot of information on the WoW Esports Twitter page. But that is just an overview of kind of where these teams are and what they're up against. But we can take a look real quick at the schedule for today. Of course, we are in the EU region, and then tomorrow we'll be off in North America, and then we'll move on to Championship Sunday. But we do unfortunately have a team that has dropped out for the first match in the lower round. So we will be starting off with the 2nd elimination bracket. We can see it right down there. Unfortunately, Bonjour Bruv is missing their healer, I believe, so Casual Granddads will be moving forward into that bracket. So we'll start off the day with Bamboozle versus Caster Meta then.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting one. We'll see what these two teams decide to bring to the table. For Bamboozle, they are a 3-player roster, so it's not going to be too much of a surprise. I do believe they are the shadow play that we saw in Cup number 1. They actually had a reasonable run, so I'm curious to see if they have mixed it up or they're just going to continue to try to find success with this composition, because it is strong right now. The Shadow Priest as well as the Warlock, very good specializations. You see here some of the changes that just went in. So the last set of balance changes, some of the casted single target damage of Shadow Priest got a buff, and then some of their instant burst got nerfed, as well as some of their AoE. So if you can actually sit back and channel as a Shadow Priest, these buffs are going to be great for you. If you are being shut down, it might be a little bit more difficult to actually get that throughput out. So it'll be really interesting to see how some of these changes end up impacting this 3rd cup.
Yeah, I think so too. And, like you kind of already mentioned, Ben, Shadow Play, that's been a really prominent composition. What are some other comps that we're seeing Subtisa in this region that are really kind of rising to the top at this point in time?
I mean, Demonology Warlock Boomkin seems to be a staple for Echo, but if I'm being honest, they're the only team that are consistently winning with it. Everybody else that has tried to duplicate their composition is not seeing nearly the same level of success. So I always call it like the Chanimal factor, at least when it comes to these wizard compositions. It's just, you don't want to be going head-to-head in a wizard mirror when Chanimal is on the opposing team. Other compositions being things like Rogue Mage Priest. We've seen this a lot more in Europe, and likely we're going to see it throughout this weekend as well. And the Holy Priest coming into competitive play is a big pivot for the current meta.
Yeah, we can take a look at some of the other class tunings as well that have recently been implemented. So the players are on TR, and that is reflective of the current state of retail. Zico, have you noticed any of those changes yourself in your play?
I think they're going to take a little bit to kind of get used to, but I do think that some of the changes that they have made maybe won't change up the meta too much. I feel like Subrogue's still going to be very, dominant. I think Boomkin also is still going to be very strong. Just having that opportunity to one-shot, deep into dampening and make basically unhealable damage is also going to be good. But I do think some of those healer buffs might come into play. We did see a fair bit of Resto Shaman already being played, in that last cup. So I think Resto Shaman getting, more potent casted heals could be good. You can see actually exactly what they and better mana regen. So in general, lost a little bit of instant healing, but I've been seeing, on some of the streams as well, like Sidu Absturge talking about how Resto Shaman, their casted healing actually feels really worth to get off now. So, already seeing the Golden Guardians being very dominant, for example, with that Resto Shaman. And then in addition to that, having some of these Shadow Priest changes, it could be, an even deadlier Golden Guardians. We'll just have to wait and see what actually happens there. But I'm excited to see how this specific change is going to affect the meta in North America, because that's the home of the shamans. That's Orgrimmar.
Yeah, definitely a lot of shamans over there. So we will be seeing those games for North America play tomorrow. But like we've mentioned, we're here in EU, so that is going to be the first match of the day. Like we already mentioned, it is going to be elimination. Then we've got a really big one that we've seen so many times. Also, Super T is coming up later on today, Echo versus Agents. But we can talk about that later. It looks like the match is ready to go. Shout out to these teams for being ready just a little bit early, since we unfortunately had to skip that first round. So we're going into Bamboozle versus Caster meta.
All right, let's see. Caster meta, it's going to be an important game for them to try to get some of those points, because they are definitely lacking behind a little bit. And the same thing here for Bamboozle. They are one of those teams that we talked about in that 5th position. So Bamboozle, we've seen them on broadcast do pretty decent. They had a top 4 finish, I believe, in the first cup, playing that Destruction, Shadow Priest, and Resto Druid, and that's what they're going to be playing here as well. So one of the few teams running that Destruction Warlock, and we're already seeing some Cyclones come out here to NST, and we're going to see how they decide to deal with this opener. So far, we have the Crane actually coming out here for NST, trying to get a little bit of that empowered healing out, trying to get some extra damage. But right now, it seems to be going after just pets here. Finally going to be connecting here to the Shadow Priest. Bash comes out onto Axiom. He's going to trinket out, playing that Enhanced Shaman. Kreiser already taking massive damage here. Woo. Forced to trade out the Unending Resolve immediately. Gets a nice Shadow Fury, though, and manages to get the Fear here as well. So Kreiser taking that Gateway should be able to recover for now, but it's going to be really difficult for him to deal with the damage coming in here from the Shaman, coming in from the Mist Weaver as well.
Yeah, most definitely. We're seeing a lot of defensives come out on the side of Bamboozled. Manzel, where it dropped about half health just a moment there. Had to trade out that Bark skin as well. So quite a lot already. A lot of pressure already ramping on top of Bamboozle. We'll see if they kind of turn this one around here. Going to be an explosive game for them for sure. And like Zico mentioned, really important for both of them, because they need those points. They're not in a good spot at the moment. They're right on the cusp of making it. So both of these teams really have something to prove. Kreiser dropping about half health. Going to be ducking behind that pillar, running away from the monk, actually going to be just going after him, hammering, trying to get a fear off. Going to get interrupted though. Nessie though does get caught in it, so we'll see if he can maybe find some safety here in a moment. He's still trying to get those fears off, but it's not looking like he's really letting go at all. I mean, he is stabilized for now, but we'll see if they can push this into the later games. Zico.
Yeah, leg sweep's going to connect here onto Kreiser. Still 2 minutes remain here on his Unending Resolve. Full Fear onto Manzel. Can they get a follow-up here? It looks like they're trying to actually swap to Manzel right now. And they managed to get the skin right there onto Manzel, forcing him into bear form. Kreiser getting Mortal Coiled here as well. So he's not going to be in a great spot here. He might just go down here right now. Kreiser gets exploded there. Huge damage coming out there from that Demonic Tyrant of Docs. And it's going to be Turbo Dream taking game number 1.
Yeah, that Demonic Tyrant, that really hits super hard. I mean, you can see it. We're going to get a replay of that. But he was at like 20-25% health, and then just bloop, all gone all at once. So definitely an unfortunate first game for Bamboozle, but that's going to be a dub for Caster meta. We're going to take a look at how they made it all happen here in game number 1.
Yeah, so, that Observer in the sky doing a decent amount of damage here to Kreiser, and he is taking a pretty decent chunk of damage. And I think this is where he decides to port out. So Manzel trying to Tranquility there out of the fears. They get, some pressure onto Axiom, but look at that Fistweaver doing a lot of work here. And they get the Paralyzed. Here comes the leg sweep from Axiom as well. He tries to actually get a leg sweep there onto the healer and the warlock, but they're a little bit too spread, so it's a nice axe toss from Docs instead. They get the fear, and they swap to the druid, and the druid can't really heal because he has to duck into bear form. That buys them a little bit of time there. And you can see the coil coming out here. The Demonic Tyrant is out, trying to make his way around the corner here, I think. And Doc's just trying to control the game, and there's that Tyrant coming in there around the side. Actually not able to get the casts off, but still just a lot of control there onto Manzel. And it's something that we've seen a lot with these Resto Druids, crowd controlling them for a bit and then swapping to them while something else is kind of taking that damage. We saw, the Golden Guardians do it last weekend a lot, where, they just dotted up Resto Druid of Flop, I think it was, and they just had, WizKate dot up a secondary target, and If the Druid switches out, then he's going to get caught up, out of bear form and get swapped to, and he might die. And if he stays in bear form too long, then his teammate might die. So I really like when teams do that to Resto Druid teams, where they kind of have a little bit of a split going on, where one member is targeting the Druid, and then the other member is trying to take down, one of the DPS members.
Yeah, definitely implemented that very well, and that's how the first game went for Bamboozle. Caster Meta taking that first game W. This is a best of 5 as well, and like we've mentioned, it's also elimination, so no more chances left for this team. So if you're on the side of Bamboozle and you kind of know how they made that setup happen, Zika, what do you want to be looking at doing for game number 2?
It's all about. You mean for the caster team? It's all about just dragging out the enhanced shaman and trying to get a big one shot basically with the destruction warlock. Try to get some crowd control onto the fist weaver and try to get the enhanced shaman basically isolated. I think the biggest weakness of the enhanced shaman is that they do die if you can catch them. The problem here is that I feel like they played a lot around the pillars. Every time they kind of pour to the pillar, Kreiser, he's going to be feeling safe doing that, but his team can't really help him when he does that. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. We're going to go to Tolvir, big map, drag out the shaman, and try to take him down. If he runs away, try to swap to the Mistweaver. I think that's what Bamboozle wants to do here.
Very true. So be keeping an eye on where they are positioned on the side of Bamboozle with those pillars, because we saw, like last game, that left them pretty vulnerable. So we see what they do here for game number 2. Caster Meta looking to put themselves here on match point. Are they going to do it? First game went pretty smoothly for them. Bamboozle looking to make a comeback, Zico.
Yeah, let's see if they can make it happen here. They definitely have the map for it, and I think if Bamboozle can't win on this map, this series is definitely going to be running out of their hands, because we still have a lot of small maps. We haven't played a single small map yet. So Caster Meta definitely putting themselves in a pretty prime position so far in the series. And we do have the gates open, and immediately we're going to go after Kreiser here on the Destruction Warlock. And you can see NST is doing a decent job already here. Hasn't activated his Way of the Crane just yet, and he's already gotten crowd controlled. So he's going to basically be on DR now and actually get a decent amount of uptime here. Already going with that Feline Stomp. Kreiser kites away from it. They're actually going to go after Ray here, and that's the map doing a lot of work. They don't want to push behind that pillar and actually have a decent amount of crowd control here. Beautiful leg sweep coming out here. Ray going to trade out the Dispersion. Nice push there from Caster Meta.
Yeah, definitely a nice push. We'll see if they can actually make that connect. Docs, though, really cool. That was scary for just a moment here. Kreiser going to use that unending resolve. About 20% health, but both of these locks just dropped a little bit here. So we'll see what happens. Is maybe Bamboozle going to get this one tied? We will have to see. But Kreiser really has been running around this entire map the whole time, and they've been pretty relentless in that pressure against them. Ray, however, has been a little bit vulnerable this game. Didn't really have too much trouble for the first one, but now their pressure has really been on him as well. Caster Meta kind of just spreading that damage on all 3 of these members here. Axiom about 50% health, is stabilizing, getting topped up just a little bit. Nestia really doing some aggressive fist weaving here, really just on top of Kreiser. Ray gonna save him with that Void Shift though.
Yeah, and now Axiom could be in a little bit of trouble here. He's taking a decent amount of damage from those Void Chandras, but finally gets picked back up. Ray, no Dispersion, no Void Shift, and Kreiser as well with nothing left. So anybody really is a target here. Manzet also has no trinkets, and there's the leg sweep. Who are they going to go after? Nesty gets feared. They're going after Kreiser. Axiom, though, could be in a little bit of trouble here as Nesty is sitting through that crowd control. Axiom trying to stay alive here with that burrow, but those dots are still ticking when you are underneath the ground. He still has that Astral Shift as well to work with. He's trying to hold on to it so he can make a big push with it. Nesty still in crowd control. Axiom is trying to be greedy here, though, with the Astral Shift. And so far, I think greed is going to be good. Nesty, the Psychic Horror Dispel continues the crowd control chain onto him, but now he should be able to pick up that Shaman, and there it is. He's going to be able to top him, and now it's going to be a lot of trouble here for the Warlock if they can connect onto him. So they need to make sure that they use this map here very, very well. Kreiser trying to kite here. Axiom taking massive damage here. The Void Torrent is coming in. The portals are flying in. There's that Astral Shift making its weight in gold for Axiom. But here comes the Lust. Here comes the damage. They don't have anything onto Kreiser. If they can connect onto Kreiser, it could be lights out. There's the Ring of Peace allowing Axiom to maybe connect, but he's going to gateway out of there. And they're using this map extremely well on the side of Bamboozle. I think they have weathered the storm for now.
Yeah, they certainly have. They've got quite a few defensives off of that last go. Ray a little bit in trouble though. It seems like he's going to be fine for the moment, but this is looking scary for both sides. It's getting really volatile right now. Axiom dropping super low. He doesn't have anything really available to him to keep himself alive. Nesty going to be trying everything in his power to keep his team alive. Kreiser, however, might be the one going down. Really in trouble here. His health is just looming. Okay, but he's gonna be okay for now here. 3 minutes in, and this game could really be going anywhere. Bamboozle had a really quick loss in that first one, but they've really turned around the pressure here in game number 2. Is it enough though to tie up this game on Tolveron? They're really using the map to their advantage here, doing a good job of keeping their space. Axiom a little bit vulnerable. He's got 15 seconds until Astral Shift. Is he gonna make it through that? Because Ray, this team is being just relentless right now, Zico.
Yeah, Axiom definitely surviving another close call there. He is going to have his Astral Shift available in just a couple of seconds, so should be able to stay alive. Manzel, though, caught up in a Paralyze. Do they have any follow-up? It doesn't look like it. Kreiser might just die in just a Paralyze, though. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any instant healing on the side of Manzel here. Kreiser, though, does have his Unending Resolve, and he's turning around the pressure here onto Axiom, but a nice Life Cocoon there saves him. Triggering Life Cocoon there for Nesty, and that will be enough here for Axiom to stay alive. Now, Ray has his Dispersion. Might have to use it. Big damage coming in there from that fell Bladestorm. Doc's trying to turn up the heat here a little bit on that Demo Warlock to get the Axlos onto Manzel. Do they have anything else? Doesn't look like it. He's going to get coiled here. Big damage onto Axiom once again. He's going to be in a lot of trouble, and he does trade out the Astral Shift. Is that even going to be enough? There's 2 portals blasting him, and he's trying to connect on that Warlock, but he isn't able to do so. So he's going to swap over to the Shadow Priest, and here comes big Chaos Bolts onto Docs right now. Axiom finally does connect here onto Kreiser, and Kreiser with no unending resolve could be in massive trouble here. Nesty, though, basically no mana left. He gets fully Cyclone. Nicely done there by Manzel. But Iron Bugs should be enough here. Axiom going to burrow, and I think that might be enough to keep Axiom alive. He's ducking around the corner. Those dots are taking Axiom, trying to keep himself alive, but with Nesty basically being completely here, this could actually go in favor of Bamboozle. Bamboozle have done a great job staying alive. They have the Shadow Priest with Dispersion, so Kreiser just needs to continue kiting and allow Ray to kind of be the tank of the team right now to soak up the damage. Can he do it? Nice fake there on the Mind Games. Void Torrent, big damage coming out onto Axiom, and that will be the game here. Bamboozle tied up 1-1.
Wow, that was incredible. I mean, Bamboozle, in the early stages of this game were pretty vulnerable, but towards the end of that, they just had full control of this. They are tied up now here in this best of 5 elimination series. We're going to take a look at the replay real quick, but they definitely needed that win here because that was a little bit close in the beginning, Zico.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of close calls in this one, but I do like that they just utilized the map a lot better. Bamboozle kind of realized, hey, we just need to stay alive, drag the Enhance out in the open, and if we do that, we're going to be in a great shape. But that was a lot of pressure, Castameta did a great job as well, swapping between the Warlock and the Shadow Priest, because that's really how you have to kind of utilize the map. You can't only just chase the Warlock the entire game. Yeah, it's just not going to work. So when the Warlock teleports away too far, that's when you swap to the Shadow Priest, get his Dispersion, keep Manzel second guessing, and they almost were able to close it out. I mean, there were so many close calls like this. Kreiser definitely could have just gone down right there. Every one of these replays is just Kreiser trying to stay alive. But I really do like these fears as well coming out here from Ray, assisting his team. And Ray did a great job in general with the counter pressure. And here's those couple of last moments. So Axiom burrows, goes behind a pillar. They have the Bloodlust ticking, and Nesty has a little bit of healing left, but not too much mana to really work with. And here Ray comes in with a big fake cast. Is very important. He gets the triple fear, and then he fake casts. I think it's a Mind Games in a second here. He tries to fake us with the Mind Flay. He fake us with the Mind Games, gets the spell lock there on that fake, and then he gets the Mind Games off. He gets the Void Torrent, and it's just an overwhelming amount of damage, and they managed to close it out. So now my guess is that we are going to a small map, probably Hook Point.
Yeah, and that is going to prove to be, I think, very difficult for Shadow play here. I mean, unless they switch it up, I believe there's only 3 people on this team. I don't know really what other compositions they have, but they're definitely not going to be able to kite like they did on Tolveron. So I do wonder what their win condition is. I mean, Bamboozle, since they did lose that blind pick, they lost that first game. They're basically going to be in a situation where they have to win a swing match, which has proved to be very difficult with the format here for AWC. So it looks like we've got all the compositions locked in, and no one Hook Point, we're gonna be in some tight quarters. Zico, what are we gonna see here?
We're definitely going to be in some tight quarters. I think it's going to be more of the same. Castameta trying to close the gap onto Kreiser and take him down. Bamboozle trying to extend the match, drag out the Enhanced Shaman and take him down. And I think it's going to be tough for Manziel because he's always going to be in a paralyzed range, more or less. So he's always going to be susceptible to crown control. He might get swapped to as well. It's going to be harder for him to go for drinks if the game gets too extended. Just in general, it's not a great map for him. But I do think Bamboozle can turn this around. I feel like Castameta winning on like a really large map is less likely to happen than Bamboozle winning on a small map. I feel like if Bamboozle has good counter pressure, they can win on a small map. It is a little bit difficult, but it's possible. But at the same time, also the potential for just a one-shot happening, you know, an Enhanced Shaman one-shot, it could also happen on a large map. I mean, we almost saw it on Tolvir, so I think this series could go either way still.
Who do you think the most vulnerable then is on Bamboozle on this small map?
Probably the Warlock. I think the Warlock, as soon as he runs out of you know, kind of mobility, the Warlock's going to be a tough target to go after because on a large map, he has such a long range on that gateway that it's really, really hard to reconnect. And Ray's just going to be able to do too much. But on a small map, you know, you're having a lot easier time actually reconnecting on that Warlock. So I think Kreiser is going to be in a lot of trouble here. And they're already starting off the game here onto Kreiser, trying to get some work done. But look at that gateway already doing some work, but already able to reconnect there potentially. Now it looks like Kreiser's just going to teleport out of there, and then they're just going to swap to Ray here. But Ray also looking completely fine right now, only trading out Vampiric Embrace and that Desperate Prayer, but now they are going to reconnect onto the Warlock, and this is a situation where he has no mobility really to work with, and this is a situation where they need to get that extra pressure, that counter pressure. Kreiser trying to duck away here with the teleport, but they're just swapping to Ray once again. I would like to see them go after the Warlock now because he has no mobility, so if they can connect onto the Warlock, I think this is the time where they can make a big push on the side of Castameta.
Definitely going to be difficult to push against Ray as it is. I mean, he was pretty tanky last match. Axiom dropping pretty low. Still has Astral Shift. Nessie full mana as well. But he's still going to be half health here about 1 minute into this game. Kreiser also a little bit vulnerable, dropping just a little bit low. Still has Astral Shift available to him. Manziel caught in a stun is going to be sitting that. So trinkets available to both of those guys. Axiom also getting bubbled from Nessie using that cocoon. So a lot of defensives being traded out from both sides. This is going to be a very, very like quick-paced game. We are on hook point. There's not nearly as much. We went from like the biggest map to the smallest map here on hook point, and a lot of caster classes in these tight quarters here. So we'll see how far this game does go. There goes Axiom's Astral Shift. It looks like a lot of damage is still being plumped out onto the side of Bamboozle. Oh. He almost went down there. That was really close. Ray saving him once again with that Void Shift, coming in clutch again. That same thing happened in Tolveron also. Kreiser also has to use that Astral Shifts and Trinket, so that's a lot of defensives being used, Zico.
Yeah, Axiom actually might just need to duck away for a second here. They don't have anything to really work with. Axiom with no defensive. Nesty also without a life cocoon for another 15 seconds. Axiom needs to be careful here. He could actually just go down right now if they manage to get something onto Nesty. Nesty trying to fake cast here with the Soothing Mist and actually manages to keep him alive there. And that's going to be the Health Stone as well coming out for Axiom. So nice you know, moves right there. That was a little bit of a sketchy situation to actually stay out in the open, but it is important to try to stay on the Warlock as much as possible. Now Axiom should be okay. They do have that life cocoon in his back pocket, and that is going to be the trigger. Life cocoon coming out, and here comes the bloodlust, here comes the damage onto Kreiser. Kreiser just trying to kite around the pillar here. Can they manage to actually reconnect here? He's doing a good job just kind of dancing around this pillar. This is where Dox needs to try to get something onto Kreiser, and there it is. Finally the coil connects. Here comes the damage. He gets it pulled back there by the Leap of Faith. Double leg sweep coming out from Nesty. Big damage here from the Fist Weaver, but Manziel is there to block it. He has Iron Bark available. He has the Nature Swiftness available, but he does get clotheslined into a crack control, into a full fear right now. Manziel might need to trinket here unless Kreiser can actually stay alive here and keep up the kiting. Nice Infernal Stun into the Shadow Fury. Big damage. Axiom does have Astral Shift. He might need to press it right now. Presses the Burrow instead, and that should be enough to keep him alive for now. Manziel now getting blasted a little bit here, but he is going to be able to recover with some of those regrowth procs. And now once again, we are trying to connect here onto these wizards. They're swapping to Manziel. Manziel actually trinketing out of there and using that Bark Skin. So that's a big win there. Getting that swap onto Manziel definitely opens up some opportunities here for Castameta.
Yep, certainly does. Let's see what they can do here. About 4 minutes into this game, pressure for sure ramping up here on both sides. A lot of defensives already being traded out pretty early on in this game, but looks like both teams might be getting a nice reset here. We'll see who does end up making the next go. Axiom, really vulnerable. He's really hanging onto the Astral Shift. He does end up using it, but it might not be enough. Okay, we're going to see Nesty with a last-minute cocoon saving him. That was really scary for a moment there, but now we're seeing Dogs actually get some pressure on him. A lot of damage going out onto him as well. We're seeing Kreiser casting those bolts out in the beginning here, or the other side of the map. But I mean, just look at all of this damage coming from both sides. This is just getting so scary for both teams here. I don't know who's going to go down first, but this is looking pretty tough here. Both of these healers, they got about 20% mana left on both sides. We'll see if either of them run out of mana, because it was Nesty who ended up running out first in that last game. Kreiser looking a little bit scary. Is he going to go down? His man's going to keep him alive. He's okay. He's got about 15 seconds as well for Unending Resolve, but he survives and he doesn't need it just now.
Yeah, it was a nice mind control by Ray, actually saving the day right there. And Ray now, though, getting swapped. He has no dispersion for a couple of more seconds. Trades out the Desperate Prayer, and that should be enough to keep him alive. But now they're going to reconnect onto Kreiser, and he is going to use that Dark Pact. He still has that Unending Resolve as well. So Axiom is actually going to be the one getting a little bit baited right now. They don't have any big heals for Axiom. If Ray can get that big pressure again, Axiom could actually be the one who falls. He's got no cooldowns for another about 10 seconds. Full Fear onto Nesty. Kreiser trades out the Unending Resolve, actually. Can he get a Chaos Bolt with that? He goes for the Shadow Fury. Here comes the damage onto Axiom. Is he ready for it? Nesty has that life cocoon. He might need to trade it right now, or Axiom might just fall here. Nesty's being extremely greedy with it, but finally pulls the trigger. And now with no Unending Resolve, another mind control here by Ray to save the day. Really, really nice mind controls from Ray so far in this matchup. Now they're going to swap to Ray, but he's got that dispersion. He gets a triple fear. Ray right now trying to put the team onto his back. There's the Psychic Horror. Mind games connect. There's a Chaos Bolt. There's the Mortal Coil. Big damage with the Void Torrent. Axiom in so much trouble, but he does have the Astral Shift, trades it out, and Kreiser once again going to be on the back foot here. Manziel doesn't have too much mana to work with. He goes for the Iron Bar, goes for the Nature Swiftness. All of those healing over time effects are getting purged here. Axiom still, though, dropping dangerously low. Manziel getting swapped to. There's the coil. Big damage onto Manziel. There's a stun as well, but Manziel with the Iron Bark and the Bark Skin is going to be able to stay alive. There's the Innervate coming out from Manziel, but he gets feared on it. They purge off the Innervate, or they're trying to, but they're getting lucky there. Nice shield by Ray, trying to make sure to protect that Innervate, and they got really lucky right there to actually keep it up for so long, but still a lot of trouble here. Axiom dropping to half HP, and Nesty, no mana left. They need to make a push right now onto Kreiser. Can they take him down right now? This is the last ditch effort. They're connecting. Here comes the damage touch of Death Range. Almost there for Nesty. Trinkets out to try to get it. He gets a kick. Leg sweep. Big damage. And that is going to be it. Castaneda manages to close it out here. They're trying to get a cross kill onto Axiom, but they're not going to find it. Here's the pressure. Castaneda. It wasn't too pretty, but they managed to hold on to their lead.
Oh my gosh, I think my favorite part was how many times Ray just saved the day in that game. I mean, this is just pulling out all the stops here with Shadow Play, but with Shadow Priest, but Castaneda going to be taking that second game win on match points 2-1. Currently, we're going to take a look at the replay as well and a breakdown how that exactly happened. I mean, Kreiser was just so low for so long towards the end there. Yeah,
definitely. Kreiser, he's dancing with death a lot of these times, but it kind of did come down to mana as well for Nesty. If they managed to just stay alive for one more setup there at the end, he had nothing left. So it really came down to Castaneda making that perfect push, and a lot of it was this Innovate right here. Look at that. You can see the purge icon right there, and you can see the shield coming out there for Ray, trying to protect the buff, trying to give Manziel basically more buffs and more likelihood that that Innovate doesn't get purged. So they managed to get a lot of healing over time effects with that, and I gotta say, Ray played a really clean game here. Just in general, playing good support, playing good offense, good lockdown. Here he's spamming out the flash heals. I don't know if he had a leap of faith right there available maybe for Kreiser, but in this moment, they managed to connect here, and they managed to get that leg sweep by Nesty into a paralyze there onto Manziel, and as soon as they land that paralyze as well, it's just lights out. Nesty really doing what he can right now to secure the win there, and they had a great synergy as well between Nesty and Axiom. They overlapped one time, Astral Shift and Life Cocoon, but aside from that, there really wasn't any defensive overlaps. Even when Axiom was like 10%, he trusted that Nesty would come in with the Life Cocoon, and Nesty, when he was sitting through crowd controls, he would trust that Burrow and Astral Shift would be used.
Yeah, it's a bit scary to watch Axiom's health bar. Like, come on, man, press some buttons. But yeah, well done to them. And now they are heading into Maldraxxus Coliseum. That was Bamboozle's map choice here. So Bamboozle have yet to win a swing match. It's going to be what they basically have to achieve if they want to win this series. Castermeta in a very good spot right now. They've got about a minute and a half left to pick their composition. But I don't really know. I mean, it kind of seems like they're just going to play the same comp. What do you think, Zico? Really know what else they have if they have anything.
Probably. The one thing that they could swap to is maybe a demo warlock, but I don't think that's how Kreiser rolls. He just loves that destruction, and I think on the large maps at least, it's been working out well for them. Demo, of course, is going to be a little bit harder to kill, a little bit more, tankiness, disruption. They just don't die, so Demolock, it has that going for it. And also just less reliant on getting those casts out. You have, your pets doing a lot of the work for you, and also providing that Mortal Strike effect. But Kreiser, he's going to be rocking that destruction. And the nice thing about destruction is, and in general for Bamboozle's comp, the way it's kind of built is it's kind of a two-threat comp where if you go for the Shadow Priest, you're leaving the Destruction Warlock free. If you're going for the Destruction Warlock, you're leaving the Shadow Priest free. So no matter what, you're going to have to deal with one of these really high damage casters, free casting.
Yeah, it's a good name, Bamboozle. You just got a whiplash. Like, yeah, who do you target? Everyone on this team is scary. So we'll see if they can be scary here into this fourth game, and see if they can get a second point here. Because this is definitely a big match for them, Bamboozle. I mean, we talked about both of these teams heading into this match, how both of them really do need those points. We're seeing Bamboozle coming into this at 5th, tied with a couple of other teams. And we'll see if they can kind of keep going here. But Castermeta, that they're even lower. They're actually at 32 points. So they really need these points as well. Both these teams got a lot to prove. Can they do it? Is Castermeta going to take this one 3-1? Is Bamboozle going to take this to a game 5? This has been a pretty tough fight for both of these guys so far. None of these wins, except for maybe game number 1, has been super clean or super pretty, like Zico's been saying. So we'll see what they can do. Castermeta and Bamboozle 2-1 right now.
Yeah, let's see who will take it. A lot on the line. This is an elimination match as well. So if Castermeta could eliminate Bamboozle, well, that's their direct competition in terms of the point standings. That's going to give them a better chance to actually qualify for potential top 3 if they can somehow make their comps work all the way through, but at least for, the gauntlet qualification, because you do want that top 8 position. Sitting at 32 points. The cutoff right now is, I believe, 40 points. So Castermeta, they need these wins. They need to grab as many points as possible if they want to be able to play in that relegation tournament at least. And we'll see if they can do it here. Bamboozle, of course, they want to pick up another top 4 finish at least. And try to gun for that top 3 spot. Axiom, though, right now is definitely feeling the heat, already having to trade out the Astral Shift here and getting swapped to. Big damage coming out here. Kreiser going to be teleporting away as that coil is about to hit him. So really nicely done there. Doc's actually using that gateway to try to chase Kreiser right now. Gets a full fear onto Manzel. I do believe it was Master Spell there. Manzel now caught up in a stun. Kreiser, unending resolve, and he gets gripped back there. I do believe he used his health stone there as well. So not a bad push, but they did get the unending resolve. They didn't get the trinket of Manzel though. Also got the iron bark and the bark skin of Manzel. So really a lot of cooldowns used here with that push, but they still have that trinket to rely on, and Ray is a big reason for that.
Yeah, definitely. Ray once again coming in clutch here, keeping his team nice and safe many times throughout this series. Can he continue here? Can he turn that into a win in the 4th and potentially final game for Bamboozle? Unless they can turn this around, they don't have any more chances left. Castermeta dangerously close to knocking them out of the tournament. They're already setting themselves very nicely for a 3-1 finish here. Bamboozle trading out a lot of those defensives early on in the game. We'll see if they can turn it into anything. Castermeta continuing to put on that pressure, and we'll see what happens as we move forward into this game. That last one did last pretty long. They lasted quite a while on that really short and tight map here, but Maldraxxus, a lot more movement available to them here with this map. So we will see Axiom about half health right now. He did use that cocoon on the side of SC. Didn't have to trade out that Astral Shift either, so that's looking very nicely for them. Castermeta continuing playing a pretty smooth game so far, Zico.
Yeah, and try to mind control that life cocoon. Axiom is not going to have too much defense to work with. He's going to need to pre-astral shift. If he gets caught up in a stun, he might actually be able to go down in that. Ray now getting swapped here by the Fistweaver. Grips Kreiser again on that Mortal Coil, and Axiom could be in a lot of trouble here. Might need to trade something. Nice to spell that from Nesty, but is that going to be enough? Full Fear connects here onto Axiom. Nesty caught up in a bash. Manziel going for the Cyclone. It gets grounded by Axiom, and then he gets Spearhand striked into a Shadow Fury. So good lockdown here onto Manziel, but he's still going for that Cyclone, and he managed to find it. Tanks of Fear in the process, though, gets mass spelled by Ray. If you can find the Recyclone, maybe they can make something happen with that. If you find a Re-Fear, going for the Mind Games, Ray manages to fake cast once again. The Precog has landed, and that might potentially be the Astral Shift. It will be the Astral Shift right there coming out. Nicely done there by Axiom. And now Axiom, though, doesn't have any cooldowns left. They do have the Life Cocoon coming up in about 10 seconds, so I'm not too worried here for Casterman. There's going to be a bit of a short window where potentially they could close it out, but right now it's going to be Kreiser on the back foot. Still 40 seconds remain on his Unending Resolve. Kreiser relaying that teleport right there after using that gateway. Full Cyclone here onto Nesty. Can they blast somebody out of it? The Monk as well could be a decent target here for the Caster Cleave if they can set up out of that Cyclone, but right now they're going after Axiom. They get the Burrow, and that will be the Life Cocoon here being traded out. So now they have that big opening without Burrow, without Astral Shift, and without Life Cocoon. So if they can manage to find it, that's going to be nice. Ray actually with a beautiful mind control here on that Life Cocoon, making sure that Axiom stays low, but Nesty now finally is going to be leaving that crowd control and able to top him off. Axiom still going to have to stay in the open field, though, with basically no defense, so it's going to be very, very sketchy for him. Let's see if he can stay alive.
Yeah, this is a little bit sketchy. He's got about 30 seconds until Astral Shift is up, and then 40 on the side of Nesty for that Cocoon. So they are slightly vulnerable. He's going to be in a fear, but he's going to get out of that. So that is, oh my God, Kreiser on the other hand, Ray saving him once again with that Void Shift. Time again, Kreiser using that Astral Shift. So lots of defensives coming out on the side of Bamboozle. Both of these teams are vulnerable at the moment. About 4 minutes into this game, and both of these teams are fighting for their lives. They want to stay in it. They want to prove themselves as a team, get those points, move forward in that lower bracket. They are fighting right now on the side of Bamboozle to stay alive. Manzel is just continuing to get CC'd into this. Kreiser as well. This is looking really scary for them.
Double leg sweep coming out there from Nesty. They're going after Manziel. They're going after Kreiser. Kreiser right now with the PI actually getting purged right there. Axiom, though, could be taking a lot of damage here. Needs to be a little bit careful. He has the Astral Shift, but he's caught up in a Death Coil, and now Axiom will be able to access this. He trades it out as Nesty is sitting through a Cyclone, and big damage here onto Kreiser. They need to try to take down that fellow Observer. Dox needs to try to take it down if he can. Axiom actually manages to get it down, and now if they can connect here onto Kreiser, he's got basically nothing left. Can they connect and close the gap here? They need to find some counter onto Manziel. Dox has the Unending Resolve. Maybe he should go for it. He's kind of low, and there it is. Unending Resolve gets used for Dox, but he gets feared on it before he can actually clothesline fear there onto Manziel. Now Manziel looking for a Cyclone here onto Dox. Dox trinkets out of the Shadow Fury, looking for the fears. Fears up Kreiser. Axiom trying to close the gap. Once again, they're going after Ray, but Ray still has that dispersion here. Mana's not looking too good for Manziel. He's been not unable to drink so far in this matchup. Now they're going to connect here onto Kreiser potentially. Can they close that out? Nesty with basically no, with a lot of mana. Manziel with basically no mana left. How is he going to keep him alive? Axiom, nicely done there. Nesty right before he gets Cyclone, gets the Life Cocoon there onto Axiom. Kreiser going to be teleporting away. Doc's chasing right now with that gateway, but Dox needs to be careful as well. He could potentially go down. Manziel sitting down for a drink. Can they stop it? They're not stopping the drink. They're trying to stop it with damage. Manziel actually going to get just a smidge of mana right there as he does come out and go for the Cyclone there. Nicely done by Manziel. Not sitting down too long. Actually, might have. Kreiser still very, very low right now. Catches a Nature Swiftness, catches a Iron Bark, and that should be enough here. Kreiser relaying the gateway as well. Really using that Warlock mobility perfectly so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was a really good play just right now from Manziel and Kreiser. A lot of synchronization. That drink may have just won them the game. We'll see. It's definitely going to push them later into it for sure. Manziel trying to get those Cyclones off still. Keep some pressure off of this team as they stabilize. But Axiom on the other side, about half health, does trade out that Astral Shift. Nesty pretty good on mana as well. Manziel definitely could use that sip of water. That was very good. Very nicely done for them on the side of Bamboozle. So we'll just have to keep going here. We'll see if Bamboozle can continue to stay alive. Well, defensive still to continue to be traded out from them. He does have Bark Skin. Kreiser got about 16 seconds for Unending Resolve. Can he push through? Can he stay alive through this? Because there's still so much damage. You can see Nesty's just right on top of him, not letting him get any break. He's trying to run away, trying to make some space between him and caster meta, but they're just relentless. You see all of this crap coming towards him in the middle of the map. You're trying to get some fears off, just trying to get anything to keep them off of his back, but they are relentless. There goes that unending resolve as well. Manzel continuing to run out of mana. Is it going to be enough, though?
Whoa!
Ooh.
Nasty trinkets out there. Gets the life cocoon in the nick of time. Kaiser managed to find 2 big chaos balls right there, almost closing it out. Manzel tied up on mana right now with Nesty. That was also his way of the crane right now. Ray could be forced to trade out the dispersion. He's trying to be greedy, but he will respect it right there. Desperate Prayer and dispersion both being used here. Manzel's mana basically 0. He's trying to sit down for a drink. He's trying to drop combat, but I don't think he's going to be able to. They're just going to play the game here, play it out right now. Manzel with still an Iron Bark in his back pocket, trying to make those close decisions right now. Axiom here could be in trouble. There's the bash onto Nesty. They're trying to close it out here onto Axiom. Can they do it? 40% dampening right now. So much damage if Ray can just connect here a little bit. But Ray, with no dispersion, could be the target right now. Kreiser realizes it. Nice double Mortal Coil there to try to peel the situation. But if they can connect onto Ray, they could take him down. If they can connect onto Kreiser, they could take him down here. Anybody could fall. Manzel's drinking in the back line. Beautifully done here, using the map to their advantage. Axiom might just go down right now. He's got the burrow, but he's not using it. And Axiom will fall right there. And Bamboozle tie us up. We are going to game number 5.
Oh my goodness. I mean, what a long way Bamboozle has come. It seems like they've really settled into this match. I mean, especially when you compare it to game number 1 and how caster meta kind of got that pretty quickly in that game. And Bamboozle here all the way to a game 5. This is very nice before them. But unfortunately for this blind pick heading into this next game, it might prove to be difficult for them. But we can talk about that in a moment. Let's look at this replay.
Yeah, so we got Nesty in the Cyclone. This is way earlier in the game. I think this was, he just trinkets life cocoons right here. It was a pretty close call onto Axiom. He uses the burrow. Actually doesn't even use his trinket, so that's pretty good synergy there. Using that burrow to kind of buy time for that life cocoon to come out for Nesty. And again, there was so many close calls here for Cast Meta. I feel like they almost one-shotted Kreiser a couple of times. They almost one-shotted Ray there at the end as well. Ray actually escaping at the end of last match was very key. I mean, this was one of those close moments here where they almost killed Kreiser. They got this unending resolve and Void Shift in that push. This is a little bit later, and those mind controls from Ray have been absolutely fantastic so far. Manzel also being able to find some of those drinks was really key as well in this matchup. But here, that innovate, that last buff for Manzel, and with how close this game was on mana, it really was very clutch that he was able to have that. Kreiser almost going down there, and once again here, Kreiser with the big kills, but they Cyclone Nesty there on the way of the crane, and they almost take him down there. He does force out the trinket, get the life cocoon, and at this point, once again, Ray realizing, hey, I have no defense, he manages to pull back. And at that point, they're going after Kreiser, but he gets pulled back by Ray. So really good synergy here between the two casters. Manzel also playing to his win condition, knowing, hey, I got no mana. Right now, I need to sit down and drink. Even if we're winning, either we win on mana later on because I drank, or we win right now because my team has pressure. So everybody doing the right things here on Bamboozle. They managed to drag it out, and they managed to secure the win here. But again, most likely we are going somewhere extremely small. I'm thinking, Blade's Edge, Dalaran Sewers, Ruins of Lordaeron as well would be a tough one. So we could definitely go to either of those maps, and it's going to be tough here because both of these teams are just running the same comp basically. So it's going to be a big battle this final game.
Yeah, it certainly would. And look at that, Ruins of Lordaeron. So that is going to be the map chosen from Caster Meta, as they did just lose that last one. And Bamboozle, they're going to be locking in their composition. Looks like they probably are going to play the same comp. So looks like they're taking that full timer to just kind of discuss how they want to approach this next game here. Because last time we went to a hook point, it wasn't that great of a game for them on the side of Bamboozle. It was definitely a very messy, very chaotic map, Zico. So, I mean, what do you think they're discussing behind the scenes here?
Probably just strategy. I feel like they're not going to swap comp. If they swap, the only thing I could see them do is use a Demo Warlock for Bamboozle. But I think if there's any swaps happening, that's pretty much it. So I think they're just discussing strategy. I don't see them swapping anything up. Probably just discussing, strategy, how they're going to kite, maybe defensive cooldown rotation, stuff like that. And for Caster Meta, I think it's just more of the same, try to make sure that you get as much uptime as possible for Axiom. and try to make sure that you get high value on that Fist Weaver. And when you do, you're going to be able to get a lot of pressure. And yeah, we're not going to see any swaps here from Bamboozle. They're just going to stick with the same thing. And yeah, we'll see what happens here. You know, best way to kite on this map is usually from room to room. So we'll see if Kreiser can kind of teleport into the room to the starting area, and that should buy Ray, you know, some time to kind of get a fear, get some offensive pressure going, try to shut it down before they do connect. And yeah, both teams going to be running the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, last time, you know, in those big spaces, that's what we see Bamboozle doing, kind of just hiding around the entire map. So we're going to see Caster Meta trying to close that gap as much as possible. And I feel like Nessie definitely doesn't make that easy. Those are really, really mobile class, especially when you're fist weaving. So heading into game number 5 is how long this series has taken. I mean, this is, you know, the first one of the day, and it is elimination. You can tell both of these teams really want it here. They are both pretty low on points, and the loser, the winner of this one will be moving on into that lower bracket, and they've got another chance to stay and make it to Championship Sunday. So definitely got a lot to prove, a lot of pressure on the line across the board here. We're going to see how it all plays out in just a moment as these teams get ready for this 5th game. So I don't know if I were them, Zico, and I was kind of like a newer roster in AWC, and I was like, you know, facing elimination this early on. I feel like I just hope that the pressure's not getting to them too much.
I mean, maybe. Who knows? It's cup number 3. Only one more cup after this, and you want to be making at least top 8. So we'll see here if anybody chokes. You know, it is game number 5. It's an aggressive map. Both teams kind of running the same thing that you know, they've been running throughout the whole series. So anything could really happen here. Caster Meta definitely need the points more than Bamboozle, but Bamboozle, we are going to see a remake happening here. So not sure exactly what happened here, but players are allowed to Alt F4 before the gates open to if they forget, you know, to swap to an item or they forgot something. So we are going to have a remake on that match. But yeah, who do you think is going to take it, Aya?
I still feel like Caster Meta is going to take it. I feel like Bamboozle is looking a lot more comfortable given these last couple of games, but it just seems like Caster Meta has like a slight edge. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I would say the map definitely favors Caster Meta.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Bamboozle is going to take it. I feel like Bamboozle, they had such a strong performance in Cup number 1, only running this comp. They were able to do some nasty things. I think they can bring it back here on Ruin. So we'll see. We'll see. I think it's going to be close either way, though.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. If we can take a look at the last couple of games, how close those were. I mean, it just seems like everywhere you look, people are almost getting one shot and getting saved at the last minute by their teammates. So we will see as this game gets redone. But I do feel like Bamboozle, I mean, you know, with their composition that they're running, if they do win this one, I feel like they're set up a little bit better for some of these other teams.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I think Caster Meta is going to have a rough tournament just in general. And a lot of it is because I believe Dox is actually a warrior main. So he's alting pretty hard on that Demo Warlock. I'm not sure exactly how much experience he actually has on the Demo Warlock, but I think their name is Caster Meta, and then they play a melee cleave, you know, with him on warrior. They play that turbo. So we'll see if they can manage to stay alive in this tournament and how far they can get. But right now, game number 5 is live. Bamboozle versus Caster Meta. And let's see who takes it. It is on Ruins of Lordaeron. It'll be a very aggressive map. I'm not going to steal Sid's line. And Nesty is already starting the game here into a full Cyclone, into a Recyclone. And already they're getting that Astro Shift. But this early on, I don't think it's going to be too game-changing. But they could potentially snowball that into, you know, a Life Cocoon or the Trinket of Nesty. And that's when they can maybe find some larger openings on the side of Bamboozle.
Yeah, we'll see if they can make it happen here. Ray, about half health, is going to be using that dispersion to stay alive here. Already, we're seeing both of these sides trade out some of those defensive cooldowns. No trinket available also for Ray. We're seeing the pressure now being swapped to Kreiser in the middle here. Nesty, Axiom just right on top of them they are going to get feared away for now, but this is definitely a scary map for both of these teams. Not really anywhere to hide unless you go to those rooms. So we'll see if we end up on either side of the map there, because the Bamboozle, you know, they really need that space for this composition to work, for that pressure of the lock and the Shadow Priest combined to really do what they need to do. Kreiser, half health, did use that unending resolve as well. So already we're seeing Kreiser pretty low in terms of health. He's in a stun also, and that pressure continuing to mount on top of them. Caster Meta really doing some work in the early stages of this game.
Yeah, they do get the unending resolve, so that's that 3 minutes cooldown. Giving them a big opening to get additional cooldowns right now. Axiom, though, could be in a little bit of trouble. Trades out the Burrow, but is that going to be enough right now? He's got the Portals blasting him. He's got the Void Tendrils blasting him. He's got Ray blasting him as well. Nesty has a little bit of catch-up to do, and he manages to pick him up. And Kreiser now could be in a lot of trouble. Manziel, though, manages to keep him alive there with that regrowth proc. Double leg sweep here for Nesty, trying to lead the charge. Axiom trying to connect there as well, but not able to just yet. Nice leap of faith there by Ray, just buying them a little bit of time. Kreiser then is going to teleport back to the midfield here. And so far, Kreiser is looking pretty decent. Actually, they will be reconnecting right now. Manziel manages to deflect the kill, though, with the Iron Bark. Now, Axiom going to be taking a lot of counter pressure, and he will be trading out that Astro Shift. And that's really the name of the game here. They need to find that counter pressure. Right now, they're going after Ray, and that's going to allow Kreiser actually to get some control here. Double Mortal Coil coming out. Here comes the Immolate. Here comes the damage for Kreiser. Big damage with the Power Infusion as well. I really like that. Trading it out here when Kreiser can actually free cast, and here comes Ray, big damage onto Axiom, and Axiom will catch that life cocoon from Nesty. He also has to use his trinket here to counter pressure onto Kreiser. Kreiser with a nice teleport here, needs to be careful. He's got no unending resolve. There's no Iron Bark right now as well for a little while, and Kreiser using that Warlock mobility excellently so far, but mana is dwindling. Manziel not looking too hot right now. Onto mana, just swapping over to Ray. Ray manages to find that triple fear, and now once again, Axiom getting blasted here. Axiom dropping super low right there, and almost going down. No life cocoon, and that will be the renewal coming out there from Nesty, saving the day, but that's the last big cooldown that they have for another 30 seconds, so if they can find another window like that, they could definitely take Axiom down here on the side of Bamboozle. And meanwhile, Manziel is drinking, but he needs to be careful drinking too long. Right now, Kreiser is standing in a feline stomp as well. It's going to be in a lot of trouble here. Nesty's going to get a lot of uptime here with the Way of the Crane. Triple Infernal stun coming out here for Kreiser, but unable to find the follow-up so far. Big damage onto Axiom, though. No life cocoon for another 18 seconds. No Astro Shift for another 5 seconds. And it will be Kreiser once again kind of ducking out here. Manages to stay alive. There's the Innervate coming out from Manziel. They actually purge it instantly. Manziel now in a paralyze, into a full fear here. Dox is ready to channel it out, but he gets interrupted. Might not matter, though. Kreiser under so much pressure, and he has no unending resolve for another 20 seconds. Big hits coming out from Axiom right now. Nesty as well all over him. That Observer in the sky doing work right now for Dox as well, but a nice Mortal Coil will be able to deflect situation. Kreiser just needs another 10 seconds here to be able to stay alive, and he actually teleports out of that Tranquility range right now for Manziel, so he's going to be losing out on some of that healing from Manziel. Manziel now caught up in an Axe Toss. No trinket available. He gets feared. Axiom right now getting blasted once again. Does have the Astro Shift. Shouldn't be too worried. It's going to be Ray instead on the back foot. No Void Shift. No Dispersion for Ray. And they do have the unending result for Kreiser. So Kreiser needs to try to be the tank for the team right now, as Ray could be in some trouble. Manziel still looking for a drink there in the back line. But again, it's going to be hard for him to find it. They need pressure if they're going to be able to find it. And Kreiser forced to trade out the unending resolve once again as Manziel is hitting through that crowd control. Axiom dropping to half HP here once again, and he has the unending. He has the Astral Shift, so Axiom should be fine. They have the life cocoon as well, so even if he drops low, he's not really going to be in any trouble. It could be Dox though in trouble, but he also has some cooldowns to trade. It's going to be Kreiser here on the back foot. Kreiser might go down. Manziel trinkets out into a full leg sweep, into a full fear. That should be it. Kreiser trying to kite, but it's not going to be enough. Cast the meta, close it out at game number 5. Really nicely done there, finding that leg sweep at the end.
Yeah, Caster Meta making that one look a lot easier than those last couple of games here. They're going to be taking that victory all the way to a game 5, ending in a 3-2. That is going to knock Bamboozle out of the tournament, give Caster Meta some nice points as they move forward down in that lower bracket. Well, let's break down this game number 5 here, Zico.
So at this point, this is still a little bit before the kill actually happens. So at this point, they're just forcing out the unending resolve, trying to get good pressure, and really is the name of the game is to get that counter pressure. So as soon as they trade out the unending resolve, Manziel, is sitting through CC chains, and Manziel wants to sit down for a drink, but he gets zapped right there by Axiom to make sure that he stays in combat. At this point, it looks a little scary for Axiom, but they have so many cooldowns to trade, and that really allows them to get aggressive. Dogs teleports out. He has Unending Resolve coming up in a few seconds. He's got Dark Pact. He can just line as well these wizards. Axiom is the one who needs to have those cooldowns to trade to actually stay offensive. And then Manzel actually trinkets out there into a leg sweep, into a full fear. So Manzel really crowd control there on his trinket, not able to really do anything with that. And even if he could, it was looking pretty grim in terms of mana as well. So just a pretty solid performance by Castameta. And they're going to move along here in the lower bracket.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Oh, hey.
I was going to say, yeah, they definitely are. I feel like they're bringing a really unique composition as well, like the Enhancement Shaman with the Mistweaver Monk. I feel like in a caster meta, this is a composition that has traditionally done very well. So I'm curious to see how far they can take it in that lower bracket. They made, I mean, that was a really close series. That was a really close series, that last one we just were able to see between Castameta and Bamboozle.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I was kind of mentioning a little bit earlier, like caster meta, like you said, Ven, this is a unique composition. So I do wonder how it's going to play against some of these other teams that they're going to have to face. They are going to play the loser of this next up match. So it's going to be either Echo or the Agents. And I worry a little bit about how they're going to do against either of those teams, depending on who loses.
I mean, it's definitely going to be rough. I mean, we've talked about it all day. Competition is at an all-time high right now, and that lower bracket could definitely be brutal, especially when you're already in the lower bracket and you're looking at that upper bracket, and basically every single team is absolutely stacked. I mean, we still have Echo versus the Agents coming up next, and as well as a MYWAY versus Admiral Esports. And I mean, those 4 rosters that are still in the upper bracket, Zico, I mean, they have been some of the powerhouses in Europe now for, it seems like, years.
Yeah, definitely. You know, these are the top dogs right now in Europe. But MYWAY, they had a tough, tournament last weekend. They didn't actually make it to that top 8. So they got a lot of ground that they need to try to catch up. And, you know, Admiral Esports being second in the standings, the Agent being third. MYWAY, they need this win. You know, this is an opportunity for them to knock down their direct competition down to that lower bracket. And same thing, you know, if Echo and the Agents kind of play out the way it's been going so far this season, that's MYWAY could hope that the Agents drop down there, and if MYWAY continues, in that upper bracket and the Agents gets knocked out of the tournament early, it has happened before with the Fiends knocking them out last weekend. That could be an opportunity for MYWAY to kind of grab some of those points and try to catch up in that race for top 3. I believe last season, actually, MYWAY on the last day managed to grab that last spot. They had like a final. So MYWAY, they've done it in the past, and they're going to need to do it again. And with only, this weekend and next weekend left before those points are, final, they are running out of time.
I mean, they definitely are. But it's like we kind of mentioned. I mean, that top 8 is still wide open. I mean, even if you sign up for Cup number 4 and you have a deep run, you could still potentially make it into that top 8 and make it into that gauntlet. Making it into the top 3, that's going to be pretty brutal. But as you can see on your screen, signups are open until July 2nd. So a few days left if you want to get your friends together, you want to get your teammates together to sign up for the tournament realm and Cup number 4. You can earn your smoldering banner of the aspects. Sorry, and play in the tournament. Yeah, and if you do have that deep run, like I mentioned, you can still make it into the top 8, make it into the gauntlet. It is possible. It's going to be hard, but it is possible. Yeah. Up next, we are going to be having Echo going up against the Agents. Now, I would say traditionally, I mean, Zico, you always call this El Clasico in Europe, but recently it seems like Echo has kind of pulled ahead. Do you have any predictions for this one? Do you think the Agents are going to be able to step up?
I think the Agents, they're going to need to work a little bit on their sub-rogue comps, or when the Agents are able to kind of win these games, it is off the back of, having Zipai on the LA Shaman. So, they need to specialize one way or the other. For Echo, your guess is as good as mine. We might see the RMP. We might see, Boomy and Warlock once again with Chanimal. Or they might have some new surprises as well, up in their sleeve. Echo is the type of team that they like to continue expanding their compositions, even when, they're already doing well. So they like to stay ahead. So we'll see if they have something new for us or if they're just going to be going with the same comps that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if the Agents are going to be able to kind of test Echo in this next series. We're going to find out after a really quick break.
Welcome back, everyone. This is a big game here for Echo and the Agents. Agents, unfortunately, didn't have a great week last weekend, so we'll see if that lit a fire under them. It is Echo versus the Agents in the upper quarterfinals.
It looks like they're still not confident in the Subtlety Rogue, bringing in Mercy on a Fury Warrior, Zeepai on a Shadow Priest, and Azkarath on a Restoration Shaman, still trying to utilize that North American tech as they're kind of the pioneers for that Shaman Shadow Priest. Let's see if it'll be enough. I think they got the matchup that they wanted. This Wizard Cleave out from Echo. Waz being rescued back to the pillar, but still taking quite a bit of damage here. Is he going to go down through Barkskin? Meh. Trades at the time dilation. Those 2 cooldowns should be more than enough for him to be stable in this position, but Mercy is just continuing to stack up his mortal wounds at 8 stacks right now, looking to get it to 12, and that's going to be a huge healing reduction on Waz that Meh needs to deal with. But with a Cyclone onto Mercy, those stacks are looking like they're going to fall off quite easily in this position.
Yeah, Mercy trying to reconnect to a target. Looks like he is going to be able to. Back on Waz, who will be the main target in this match. Beautiful double fear coming in here from Zeepai as they're playing very aggressive, and this is exactly what you want to see from the Agents. Hyper-aggressive playstyle, but Azkarath actually a little bit behind on mana. Mercy getting bursted. This is a very scary moment. Waz is exceptionally good at getting value out of these incarnations. That high amount of burst damage is going to be trying to one-shot Zeepai here. He gets interrupted. Beautifully done there by Chanimal. Zeepai is going to get back to the pillar, though, and should be okay. Mercy's still in the open, and Azkarath has to play catch-up at this point, but should be able to. But Mercy's just charging into the middle of the map. This is a bit disrespectful of this damage, but looks like he will be able to hold on with the frenzied regen and can continue this push here onto Waz.
It's one of those things as a Fury Warrior, you just keep going in. There is no out for a Fury Warrior. It's just Zug or death in this type of matchup. So you're just using your Victory Rush, spamming your Bloodthirst, trying to keep yourself self-sustainable, keep your stacks up at 12 as much as possible, and try and run your opponent down. There is no retreating here. Mercy has burned the boats. There's no turning back. They either win or they go down in this fight, staying on target, but Time Dilation is blocking so much damage, and Zeepai's falling behind. He's interrupted by the Solar Beam, and that's a scary situation. Azkarath, he's feeling those changes on Shaman right now. His instant healing is significantly lower. He's trying to find the time to cast. Waz actually gets reflected on a clone at very low health. That spell reflect into a fear onto Meh. Can they capitalize on this and finish Waz? He trades at the renewal, frenzied regen, charges away, Typhoon's Mercy. Mercy leaps to reconnect. Axe toss on Mercy, Axe toss on Zeepai. Chanimal stunning the whole team like he's a little mini sub rogue right now. But Waz is still on the back foot, refusing to trade Barkskin in this position. He fakes the interrupts though, gets a precognition Cyclone, and that should stall the damage now as he gets distance away from the Warrior.
Meh is just so remarkable on that Evoker. The fact that he's able to out-mana other healers when normally Evokers don't really last that long. We have Waz right now getting bursted down as they continue their push. Zeepai and Mercy going to be charging forward. Waz trying to create some space and look for Cyclones. Kiting back to Chanimal, just wanting to be in the open so Chanimal can get off as much damage as possible. Rescue comes in from Meh just for a little bit of a shield. That extra bit of defense allows Waz to get a Cyclone, and they will stabilize. And the most important moments in this match are going to be, at least for Echo, when Waz pops that incarnation. And here it is, a huge amount of burst damage available. Looks like Zeepai will be able to stabilize. Azkarath going for some beautiful heals there with his Aura Mastery. So gets off some casted heals, and let's keep in mind those were buffs. So when you can channel as a Shaman, likely are going to be able to keep your teammates alive. It looks like they weathered that storm, and now Zeepai looking to get aggressive here. The Siphon's down. Waz is getting lower and lower. Can they take him down? It'd be a massive start here for the Agents. They could pull it off. Seems like Waz should be able to stabilize with the time dilation, but still, Mercy is just chopping him up, and this is looking good for the Agents. Waz throws in an Innervate, doing what he can, but Matt is forced to trade out that Astral Communion to keep Waz alive. That's a major defensive cooldown traded out there.
Game one, so important for teams like this, given how deep their composition pool is. If the Agents can manage to pull off this all-out aggressive assault, they're switching targets. They're going after Chanimal now as dampening starts stacking up. Shockwave onto his entire army of demons here as he's getting pressured. He ports back behind the pillar very low. Meh is in a fear. Mercy is in a Cyclone. He can't connect. Azkarath in a bash. Zeepai, oh, the Solar Beams on the Void Torrents. They're going to shut down so much damage from the Shadow Priest. If Waz keeps landing those, I'm not sure if Zeepai is even going to be able to find a win condition. They're trying to get back onto Waz, but they have to spell reflect the Cyclone. They fear Chanimal off into the corner. Meh is getting aggressive here, using that Obsidian Scales to cast a Sleepwalk. He actually finds the Sleepwalk. No pre-tremor. Doesn't look like we're seeing an MD either, as Zeepai is into a stun, looking to force Dispersion from him in the middle of the map. Chanimal getting targeted once again by Mercy as he's building up Rage, working towards that 12 stack onto him, and it seems like attack the Boomkin before dampening and then train the Warlock in dampening might be the strategy they're following. Maybe they're just attacking the closest Wizard, as we see Mercy switching back to Waz, but Zeepai is just training down Chanimal, chasing him from behind the pillar. The Agents are relentless in their push.
Yeah, they definitely are. Waz now getting interrupted. Bursted down once again. Matt is forced to trade out his trinket time dilation, but Waz might just die through it. Unlikely with the bark skin and frenzied regen, but that is a lot of defense that was used. Cyclone right now onto Asgrath. There's going to be a coil on number C. Can they take him down? A large amount of damage here for Echo. They have a lot of burst. Mercy needs to be very careful. It's the incarnation rolling, and Asgrath's going to have to weather the storm, but they get Waz defensive. He is running away. That bash, beautiful bash there by Waz. He gets interrupted. These wind shears from Asgrath are absolutely beautiful. Now Mercy's just going to line of sight on that precognition to avoid the Cyclone. Really well played there by the agents, shutting down that crowd control from Waz. But they are just so far on the back foot right now. Asgrath's almost completely tapped on mana. Echo's looking like they could potentially win this late game. Another Cyclone here on number C, and it's going to be Zeepai forced back to the pillar. But I mean, at this point, Sid, there's just nothing left for the agents. Echo, they weather the storm. That's not an easy thing to do. I mean, there's a lot of offense from the Fury Warrior Shadow Priest, but I think Waz and Echo in general did a really good job managing it. And once they got into that late game, it just felt like it was all them.
Yeah, mana seems to be a really big thing in this matchup too. I feel like those mana changes, it's really hard for me at least to tell if it was a buffer and nerf, because they changed the interaction with melee attacks, but then it seems like the passive buff. That game felt like his mana was just disappearing so fast on Shaman, like faster than we usually see. So maybe that's something he's doing that's inefficient. Maybe this is the Shaman changes coming in, but Meh had such a huge lead, and one of those main reasons he does is because he's spamming Disintegrate and he's spamming Living Flame and he's staying really aggressive. And the fact that he can stay aggressive, maintain the mana, and Waz is still staying alive is kind of this delicate juggling act that we see Meh doing in all of these games. He's easily like one of the most mechanically skilled healers in the game to balance this with both damage and healing. Like, he's doing 2.2 million at this point in the game to Chanimal's 8.8 million. Like, he's contributing just so many actions per minute. Like, if this was StarCraft, like, he's easily 300 APM every single GCD min-max, timing the Fire Breath out of the clone, switching into Living Flames for offense, going for crowd control. Like, just every single moment of the game, he's looking for the most maximal opportunity that he can get. And I think that's one of the key reasons why Waz and Chanimal can win matchups like this that are kind of designed as almost a counter. Usually it's very tough to get dot damage against a Shadow Priest or a Fury Warrior. It can be tough as a Boomkin to stabilize the Warrior training you the whole game, but with Meh healing them, it looks like a cakewalk.
Meh is quite good at Preservation Evoker and Priest, of course. But yeah, definitely one of the healers you would want in your corner if you're looking to win, the AWC, and they've had a lot of success with it. Now, the agents, was this their answers? It's the only thing they have prepared for this week. It's just they're just throwing composition after composition, classes after classes into Echo, and Echo just keeps on winning. So we'll see what the agents can do. It is going to be their map pick as well as their composition pick. So if they have something better prepared for this specific composition, this is the time to use it. But it looks like we are going to be going to Hook Point, which makes a lot of sense. Go to the small map, make it a lot more difficult for Waz to actually kite and get away, but they do need to solve their mana issues. I don't know how exactly they're going to do it. It could be one of those things that now that Shaman don't have as much instant healing they can rely on, which is normally pretty mana efficient, right? Like the Earth Shield is going to be pretty mana efficient. You actually have to cast out those heals. You're just going to be burning through that mana even quicker, which is a tough spot to be in.
Definitely. Echo here have a good opportunity, like how they want to play a series. Is it going to be like an RMP on a small map blind lock? Or is it a wizard cleave and they don't switch until somebody forces them to switch? That's usually been the common strat for, I would say, most teams, is they just play one comp until another team forces them off of it. But if Echo is worried about anything on a small map, this could show that there is a threat that the agents have if Echo switch their composition.
Are they going to switch? We've only really seen the Rogue Mage from them as well as this comp. And I think this is actually, it's surprisingly, even though Echo has so much experience with the Rogue Mage, it seems like Waz actually favors this composition. Like, it's just really consistent. He was talking about, in our winners interview with Waz, he was talking about his win rate as this comp. I think they're like number one on the ladder, and he has over an 80% win rate, which is just completely ridiculous. I kind of wonder what their win rate is in the AWC with this comp, because it's got to be sky high as well in that 80% range. So they're looking really good. The question is, can anyone beat them? Who's going to be able to force them off of this composition? I'm trying to remember. There was a team that did beat them, right?
It was this team right here with this comp, except it was a different healer. The agents used Demon Hunter Ellie, I think it was Resto Druid, and they won 2 games in the grand finals, and that's when Echo went Rogue Mage and just completely destroyed them. So the agents are looking to utilize that again, but they're not playing Druid. The fact that Azgrath isn't prioritizing a Druid over a Shaman makes me wonder what the changes had for impacts on Druids. Now, this isn't a really Druid-friendly map either, to be fair, but I definitely think there might be implications if EU Druid mains aren't picking Druid at this point.
Do you remember? I think it was the agents that tried to play Druid, and they just got hunted down. You remember? I forget the exact matchup it was, but I remember Echo. They tried to play a safe game. I think it was against Swapsy's team when they were playing Moonkin Fury Warrior, right? They're playing Moonkin. What were they playing? I'm trying to remember the exact composition. It was Fury Warrior Resto Druid, and what ended up happening was Echo played a conservative game, and it was actually really difficult, but then they realized, hey, if we just run at the Resto Druid the entire game, we can make this a lot easier. So I think that may be the line of play. I do want to kind of shout out Demon Hunters. So Demon Hunters right now do a crazy amount of damage. They were kind of the big winners in terms of damage gains in the most recent hotfixes. So I feel like this composition makes a lot of sense to me when they're not having to fight a subtlety rogue, bring in the Demon Hunter, and I'm really curious to see what we're going to be able to see the agents get done with this, because I feel like I would be absolutely horrified to play against an Elemental Shaman Demon Hunter of this caliber.
Yeah, definitely. And especially now with a player at this level, like I've been seeing a bunch of solo shuffle rounds. I played my Demon Hunter a little bit, picked up. I didn't personally feel the buffs that much, but now in the hands of like the most skilled players, like how much of an impact is it going to have? Because this is the type of matchup that they really needed it to have an impact on, at least to have a chance, because Echo's been looking so dominant with this composition. So great map set up here. I think it is a good composition. Double grounding totems really difficult to deal with as booming lock, and you can hide them behind so many close pillars. Demon Hunter is going to be decently self-sustainable with a lot of stuns to hold people down. Ellie Shamans is going to pump out massive damage numbers. So overall, it seems like a good comp. Instant quell on that I-beam. It's super important against Demon Hunters that you're interrupting I-beam as soon as possible, as that's what their set bonus is amplifying. And now Brunhitty's pinned in a bash. Incarnation is going to get shipped. It's going to hit 2 targets with Zeepai and Brunhitty. Observer is down for Chanimal. Zeepai's trying to line aside it at the pillar and now trying to pull back, but he gets coiled. Waz gets gripped in by Meh with that rescue. He gets knocked away by Zeepai. Askrat's trying to reposition. He doesn't want to be on top of Brunhitty and getting crowd controlled for free here. Zeepai reorganizing next to Asgrath. Waz getting aggressive. Wind sheared into a stun on his cast. Zeepai gets axe toss. Chanimal getting the Dreadstalkers out on the field. Zeepai being targeted down. No astral shift. They're sitting in Earthen Wall Totem at the moment, but they're just going to cyclone it. Zeepai decides to trinket. He wants to stay aggressive in this position. Can he get the pressure out? Nature's Vigil is up, providing some healing and support as well from Waz. Met is able to keep his team really aggressive right now. If they can stand on top of them and not even kite the Demon Hunter, I don't think this is going to go good for the agents.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Right now, Chanimal getting blasted, but just get dropped. I mean, that was a close call. He portals away at 10% health. The agents with a surprising amount of burst there. And now it's going to be Waz who does get swapped to. Zeepai really heating up here on that Elemental Shaman. Brunhitty as well, but at the same time, they're rotting down. But this pressure from the agents the last couple seconds here has been really high. Observer comes down from Chanimal, a bit of a distraction, and also a punish here onto Zeepai. And Asgrath going to be blasting them a little bit when they try to cast spells. It does get killed off. Waz manages to fake out an interrupt with his precognition. Gets a full cyclone, and now they're making him set up here onto Zeepai. What are they going to be able to get done? It doesn't seem like too much so far. These static field totems have been kind of a nuisance for Waz and Meh. Beautiful deep breath. And I mean, these deep breaths have set up his team time and time again. A full cyclone here on Asgrath. Zeepai gets out of line of sight, ducking for cover. This is a huge hit of damage from the side of Echo, but I feel like if Brunhitty can stabilize, if Asgrath can keep them alive, their pressure so far has looked really solid. I feel like they can win this match.
They're ahead on mana. I think that's the most important thing for them right now. They need to maintain that mana lead. Keeps shutting down the Disintegrates and Living Flames of Meh. They knock Waz back away. Brunhitty's cloned. He's trying to duck with his team around the corner. Maybe look for a reverse magic here in a second on all the dots potentially. We see a stun onto Waz, pinning him at the pillar. Zeepai retreating with Asgrath, Chanimal on the left, Waz on the right. They're just on top of them right now. Observer has been planted, and are they just going to line it or kill it? Lava Bursts come in and they kill off the Observer. They're trying to pull back, but they're stacked up. They're taking so much damage from the Demonology Warlock pet that's just cleaving them at the pillar. They drop Darkness during this push to try and restabilize, but it's cost them Darkness in both Astral shifts. And they're still just ducking around the corner, cowering right now. They're just being destroyed. They're both at half health consistently. Zeepai might just go down in a Shadow Fury. He's got Burrow. He burrows, but dots are up. Sleepwalk on Askarath isn't going to be enough. Spirit Link Totem comes through, but that Cyclone connects, and now Askarath's healing will be reduced from the high winds, and he's going to really struggle to pick his team up from 10%. He has to cast heals, I think, at this point. He gets Cycloned again. That high wind's going up. Askarath's Riptide's not really doing a lot at the moment. He gets back behind the pillar, goes for a healing surge. He needs to get these casted heals out. Chanimal's not in range to interrupt. Waz not in line of sight either, and Askarath pulls himself and Zeepai back up, but now Brunhilde is cycloned low. Waz is getting decently pressured. They need to keep this pressure, but the instant heal from Mez, Spirit Bloom is going to get him right back to full. Brunhilde's going into Metamorphosis, trying to turn the tables here, trying to turn the tide of this battle. They can't afford to lose here. Being down 2 and having to win 3 in a row, I think, is an impossible thing to achieve against Echo. They're going for the kill on Waz. Meb blocks it once again, activating the Renewing Blaze as he jumps into the fight as well, so he's not a swap target. He pre-anticipates that swap to himself and completely immunes any possible damage. Chanimal has Demonic Tyrant available. Waz is faking interrupts and getting precog procs, and as soon as Chanimal gets this Demonic Tyrant out, I think they're going to be in trouble, but they're actually pulling away from the engagement, maybe trying to bait the Demon Hunter with no trinket and set up a Tyrant in the open field would be my guess.
Yeah, beautiful stun. A lot of pressure here from the side of the agents. It was a nice Chaos Nova from Brunhilde, really setting them up. Matt burning through a lot of his mana right now. There's no Innervate available, so mana has gone now in favor of the agents. Waz and Chanimal looking to get some counter pressure. Chanimal pushing in here as Zeepai is pressured, keeping both Shamans at the pillar. Brunhilde in the open as well, just getting one shot. Oh no! The Tyrant was just free casting on him. I mean, that was crazy amount of burst there onto Brunhilde. That wasn't even the incarnation. That was just a free casting Tyrant, and you cannot let that happen. That is probably one of the scariest things in the game. It's like a 4th player being summoned in, like an arcane mage just blasting you. Definitely unfortunate for them. And like you said, this is such a tough spot to be in. Echo's up 2-0 now. You have to win 3 in a row. And if you manage to win 1, then it's Echo's comp and map advantage, which, I mean, we can discuss that later. That's going to be brutal.
I feel like the worst part about this position is like Waz and Chanimal, they pull away from the engagement, and 2 things are either going to happen. You're either going to chase them here when they pull away, and they're going to Tyrant you and kill you, or you don't chase them and they drink to full mana and you lose later. So like you're pretty much in checkmate if you push in, and you're in checkmate if you don't push in this type of situation, which is making me think that this composition is just not going to work out for them. They had decent pressure in this position when they made their push, but as soon as they don't deal with this Tyrant, Brunhilde Cyclone, so he can't CC it. I think typically with the Demonic Tyrant, you can use your Metamorphosis actually to stun it because it's a demon, but saving your AoE Chaos Nova, saving your Sigil of Fear in this type of matchup, like you have to use some crowd control onto the Tyrant.
Attacking him? I feel like it was seeing the replay. It wasn't actually even attacking. Maybe I was totally wrong. It was there. I saw it and I was like, how? Like, where's this damage coming from?
Was there a grounding totem down?
I think it might have got
interrupted. Do we have a kill log for Brunhilde? We gotta see if it's not is 0 Tyrant damage on him in the kill log. Just Star Surge and Demon Bolt or something.
Let's actually take a look here when it gets the Tyrant off, what it does, because I feel like now looking at this a second time, it actually didn't do much. So. See, this is the triple stun. This is where things are looking good. The agents are like, yeah, this is crazy. We have so much pressure. Things are looking great. Waz has no Barkskin. Let's keep up the chase. And Waz just repositions. So him and Matt, they move further away. This Tyrant gets a few attacks here. Grounded. Onto Zeepai and Asgrath, but look at it right now.
Switching to Brunhilde, it got 1, or it got interrupted, I think. It got interrupted there? Is it casting
just standing
again?
there.
It's not casting. It's not casting.
I
don't think it is, or his animation is broken, and it is. I'm not sure.
All right, well. There it is. I wonder what even killed him then. Because that wasn't incarnation. It was all meh.
I mean, it's possible. He's doing like at least a third of the damage of the DPS, which is a lot of damage in most of these games. So this composition is looking as good as ever for Echo moving into week 3. Agents have decided to bring in the Resto Druid for game number 3 and going to a large map. And I feel like the mana changes of the Shaman are the one that I've noticed so far the most out of all of the changes.
What about the Druid healing changes?
Yeah, that's what we'll see right here, because not being able to extend your Cenarian Ward by an additional 4 seconds or your Adaptive Swarm is like a really big nerf to Resto Druid here. So I would assume this is a buff, honestly. And they're queuing a Resto Druid into an Evoker that can still Fire Breath purge. Reactive Resin doesn't trigger, even though the Fire Breath is purging 4 things. It'll count as 1 purge because it's just 1 spell, I think. So the Evoker doesn't get silenced when he's purging off all the hots. And every time you do that, it's really tough to recover. Not being able to extend Cenarian Ward, which was the only undispellable hot, by an extra 4 seconds. I don't know. This is honestly going to work for the agents.
Big map. Asgrath's going to have to play Drink. He's going to be drinking simulator in this match, making sure that he can recover his mana for the long game. But Met is such a nuisance on this Evoker. I feel like if I was playing Resto Druid, I would not want to play into an Evoker of this caliber right now. Was taking quite a bit of damage in the midfield, but he's pushing in, wanted to get aggressive. They're just chasing down Asgrath, and he's going to be looking to reposition. And that is one of the threats of playing Restoration Druid, is that you are a great target in these matches. However, you're just leaving Zeepai open. I mean, Chanimal's getting absolutely blasted. Met does manage to connect a lot of healing there. They should be able to stabilize. Huge heal over time effects have landed. So I think Echo's going to be feeling more than confident to push in, but that was a very close call.
Oh, now they're swapping onto Waz, trying to put him behind. Mez doing a good job to pick him through this. They're going to Bark Skin as well. The Axos Tyrant is on the battlefield. And Zeepai is going to go back behind the pillar with no grounding totem and just line of sight that Tyrant. Chanimal goes on the opposite side of it. Instant Dreadstalker proc for him. They force Tranquility from Asgrath. Mez Verdant embracing in onto Waz, boosting his healing, looking for Dream Breath, getting those hots up. Gets bashed for a moment. Can they get any crowd control? Maybe swap some damage to him? I feel like cleaving Met when he's this close is definitely a good idea. And he's going to use Rescue, get a big shield up. Brunhilde gets stunned. Zeepai gets cloned away. Brunhilde's now taking huge damage. Fire Breath connects onto him, purging the hots off. Asgrath's trying to catch up and get those hots going again, but now he's stunned. Brunhilde's into a coil. Star Surge is incoming. It's match point. He might die through darkness here. Asgrath is cloned with no trinket. Brunhilde procs a demon right at the last second. Gets a big heal here in the darkness with that. Asgrath finally free from crowd control and is just so thankful that he's alive right now, but he's using so much mana to keep up. Time dilations on Waz. That's negating huge amounts of damage. Brunhilde's going to swap off of that and go into Chanimal. He ports back behind the pillar, fakes an interrupt, gets a precognition proc. It looked like there for a moment, so his haste is going to be amplified. Asgrath in bear form, anticipating a stun, but Chanimal suddenly just, every once in a while, Chanimal just loses his entire health bar, which is literally the only sign of life that they have, is Brunhilde and Zeepai proccing a lot of damage together, I think.
Yeah, Asgrath in Cyclones right now, though. Brunhilde's looking like he is going to be okay, and this burst on the Chanimal is absolutely insane. He has burned through that unending resolve, so doesn't have his major defensive available. Asgrath now getting targeted as well as he's forced to retreat, try to get out of line of sight. See what he can get done. It looks like Echo should be able to recover, but they're just playing this matchup so hyper-aggressive, trying to play on top of Asgrath, making it really uncomfortable for him, not allowing to ever get out of combat, not allowing to ever go for a drink, and that is the advantage that Echo wants to press. If Asgrath can get space, then there's always that threat of him recovering his mana, and they lose that advantage. So Echo just so good at knowing their win conditions, but they have to hold on, and it is scary. When you're playing this aggressive against like an Elemental Shaman Demon Hunter, things can turn on you very quickly, but at the same time, I mean, Asgrath is forced to trade out that Nature Swiftness, tops himself off. This is the huge damage that Waz has available with that Incarnation, but it looks like they might weather the storm, maybe. I mean, Asgrath's still just so incredibly low. These setups are so dangerous coming in from the side of Echo, and this Restoration Druid is really struggling. The Axe Toss is enough. Waz connects, and that is a 3-0 Echo. Once again, can anyone beat this team? They are looking so incredibly dominant this season. I almost can't, I mean, I can't believe it, but it's almost unbelievable, like, how good they're looking.
Yeah, and they're just running people over here in Europe, making it look like it's not even a contest. Like, they were just pinned at the pillar on top of them, just pummeling them. And it's like that moment where you're gonna be like, stop it, it's over, he's dead already, it's over, stop it. Like, it's just absolutely disgusting, the level of skill that Echo is able to display in a lot of these matchups so far. And it seems like they're still going to be able to utilize their primary composition despite the changes here moving into week 3 to get themselves into Championship Sunday. I would say that the agents are one of their primary threats, and they're not even taking games off of them anymore as they were in previous weeks. Say maybe Admirals Esports is kind of their next biggest threat, but now this means that the agents will move down to the lower bracket. I believe that they face off against Axiom's team that we we just saw earlier, that Enhancement Shaman Demonology Warlock. I wouldn't even say that that's necessarily like a guaranteed win for them. I feel like that team has actually been looking good week to week, getting into the top 8, and they looked really polished on that composition, have some unique strategies. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that one out and what types of compositions they use for it. The next series on the upper side here, though, is going to be Admirals Esports and MYWAY. So the fact that MYWAY is in the upper side of the bracket here makes me wonder what compositions they're using, because they played a lot of like Moonkin Hunter in week 1. They had a lot of oddball compositions, and I'm wondering if they're still relying on those.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. MYWAY, traditionally a jungle team. We've seen them in AWC many, many years, and they've definitely switched things up as of late, like Sid mentioned with that Moonkin. So Admirals Esports, is this going to be some tough competition for them in your mind then, Supatis?
I mean, probably. I don't know what. I feel like Admirals Esports has been practicing so many comps. Like they've been playing a lot of Moonkin Warrior. That seems to be like almost one of their staple comps. So I'm almost like expecting it in a lot of cases. But they could still also just play, you know, Ellie Warlock with Jamie and Swapsy. That would be like another one of their staples. MYWAY, I think we'll play a Moonkin Hunter, expecting a Wizard Cleave, because looked really good into double Wizard, honestly, as Moonkin Hunter, with Tony on Moonkin and Casso on Beastmastery Hunter.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, we will see soon enough if that is what they do end up playing. But that is going to be the last upper bracket game of the day, that MYWAY versus Admirals Esports. The winner of that moves forward in the upper bracket, and the loser will go down to face off against Casual Granddads, Fenriky.
Yeah, I mean, Casual Granddads, they are a shark in the water. They've, had a little bit of a slow season so far, but they're still consistently making that top 8. You have players like Clyde, Alec, Walrick, Nixie, and their philosophy in the past has been like, during the cup stages, they kind of just coast, right? Like during the cups, they coast, they just make it into the top 8, no stress. They don't overly, they don't overdo it. I mean, they're granddads at this point, right? They got other responsibilities, but once they make it into that gauntlet, once they make it, into that championship bracket, that's when they really step up. Because I mean, these guys are absolute veterans, most of them BlizzCon champions. So an all-star roster, and I feel like if they do put in the time to practice, they can go toe-to-toe with almost anyone.
Yeah, definitely. It's really funny every time we talk to Alec when he's on a team. It's like, oh, we're just here for fun. It's casual. And then they end up like exactly what Fen says, doing really well in that end season. So we'll come to that series, the last one of the day, but we're going to get through this upper quarter first. It's MYWAY versus Admiral Esports, who will be moving on into Championship Sunday. We'll find out just after this break. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just now tuning in, Echo just sent the agents down to the lower bracket 3-0. Now we're moving on to the last upper bracket match of the day before it's all elimination rounds from here on out. It's going to be MYWAY versus ADMIRALS Zico facing off.
Yeah, this is the first time we see MYWAY in a little bit because they didn't make it that last cup. So nice to see them back. And Admiral Esports, second right now in the standings. MYWAY falling a little bit behind there on the standings. So this is an opportunity for them to kind of knock down their direct competition and try to close that gap a little bit in terms of point standings. I don't know what comps we're going to see from MYWAY, though. The last time we saw them, they had some unorthodox comps, I think it's fair to call them.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. We were kind of speculating on it a little bit before we headed into the break. They also beat some pretty good teams in the offline brackets on Wednesday. In MYWAY, they beat BAMBOOZLE and GigaChads to get here. So it seems like they're definitely having a good weekend so far. So, it kind of sounded like Ven before we headed into the break that Sid thought they may be playing that Moonkin. How do you feel like if they do bring that out, that will be against something that ADMIRALS Esports can bring to the table? I mean, I know they've got a lot of comps too, but
yeah, I mean, I feel like MYWAY, they're just one of those teams where if they kind of show up and just play as well as they can always find success. That being said, Admiral Esports very similar. I mean, we basically have 2 rosters with 8 players, and all of them are goated at this point on the different classes and specs that they play. Admiral Esports, Swapsy, Blizzo, Jamie, Next. Their team has been very impressive, and I think the thing that impressed me the most about them is their level of preparation. It just seems like they have basically all the meta comps available outside of Sub-Rogue, and we'll see. I mean, this is going to be the blind pick here. Admiral Esports, they're going to be locking in Jamie on the Elemental Shaman, Swapsy on that Moonkin, and Next on the Evoker, and we have MYWAY bringing in just a straight-up jungle. This is Tony on the Feral Druid, so I'm very curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, MYWAY's doing really well. I wonder what they've been playing, jungle. Let's see what they can actually do here. If they figured out some new strategies, some new tech here. We got Luxia once again on the Preservation Evoker, and he was somebody who was really impressive last season on that Preservation Evoker, so it's good to see him back. Dream Injection coming out. Luxia dealing with the spread pressure so far from Admiral Esports, and mana is going to be a factor in this game for sure. We'll see what MYWAY can actually do here. They're going for the Diamond Eyes Trap, so they are playing with the Diamond Eyes Trap, and usually when they play with that, they like to go after healers a decent amount. Next already getting that Innervate. I do believe it was actually Purge, and you can see it right there. They're swapping to Next here with that jungle. Stun, into stun, into stun, but they don't have the damage right there. Next actually trinketing. What did he trinket there? It looked like he trinketed after the stun was already finished, but he did use the rewind there as well. So MYWAY, they got what they came for.
Yeah, definitely getting some major cooldowns out of the way, and the pressure from Casu and Tony has been quite high so far. Swapsy rotting down a little bit right now as Jamie and Swapsy are not wanting them to recover behind the pillar, so really wanting to just push the pace. They got a good triangle formation. Swapsy on one side, Jamie on the other, forcing them off of the pillar. Big setup here. We have a Lightning Lasso onto Luxia. MYWAY looking to get some counter pressure here, but there's just no damage rolling for the meantime. Next seems to be the main target, but popping those Obsidian Scales should be completely fine. Big cooldown straight out here by Luxia as well, using that rewind. So MYWAY will hold on. They do top off, but this is just very back and forth. Both these teams making setups, slowly getting the defenses out of the way. But it does look like it is MYWAY on the back foot just a little bit right now.
Yeah, Luxia still sitting in crowd control here. Full Cyclone connects, but Casu and Tony looking to make their push right now. Next, though, he's got that Shroud right now, the Nullifying Shroud. So that's kind of forcing MYWAY to just stay at the pillar. Luxia now going to activate his Nullifying Shroud, but already Jamie is there trying to purge it off here, being annoying. Sleepwalker is going to connect here onto Jamie. They're trying to make a push with that. Nullifying Shroud has faded for Next. There's the Diamond Eyes Trap. Here comes the damage onto Swapsy. He sees it coming already in that bear form. Lightning Lash coming out here onto Tony. Swapsy looking for a Cyclone there potentially, but realizing that Tony did leave that crowd control, and they're not going to go for it. Instead, they're going to be trying to swap over onto the healer, but not really finding anything here. Luxia actually going to be activating his Obsidian Scales. trying to get some Aura Master. And here comes the swap onto next. Is he ready for it? He's got no trinket. There's a stun into a silence right there. Actually, might have been a silence that he trinketed last time, but
Whoa!
Deep breath coming in there, and that will be the Emerald Communion. So MYWAY strategy, you know, this is one of the old goodies here, going for those Diamond Eyes traps, trying to take down Swapsy during that, and then later on looking for those swaps onto the healer. And so far, it's been working pretty well for them. They've been able to find cooldowns, but mana is dwindling here for MYWAY.
Oldies but goodies. They could still work. Diamond Eye's going to be landing here on an X once again. Swapsy looking to get crazy aggressive, but if he's forced defensive during his incarnation, that's going to be a big win for MYWAY. Looks like Casu is playing a little bit scared right now. Playing at the pillar. Tony getting blasted. He's in the open. Needs to be very careful in bear form with survival instincts. That's going to be one durable bear. And with this pillar, it should be okay. Swapsy right now getting a Cyclone out. Kind of freezing Tony's HP and making it difficult for Luxia to recover. He's burning through a lot of mana. This pressure for Admiral Esports is mounting, and Luxia is really struggling. Big Dream Breath comes in, but all three members are rotting down. Casu getting blasted, forced into the aspect of the turtle, and this is just looking like the Admiral Esports show at this point. Jamie can hold on a little bit longer. I feel like this game is going so far in their favor. Where are the openings? We'll have to see what they can do.
Yeah, and that was really nice combo there from Nex onto Luxia, forcing out his trinket. They also got a Cyclone low on the castle, forcing out his trinket. Luxia's got no trigger right now, getting blasted. He's got no Obsidian Scales, manages to duck around the corner, gets a big Spirit Bloom, and Luxia should be fine for that. Here comes the setup. They got a full stun into a full trap. Luxia caught up in a Root Beam. Tony could be in trouble. He's got no unending resolve. He's got no survival instincts, but Tony does have 9 lives with that bark skin, and he will be able to maybe stay alive. Trinkets out, gets bashed as he's making his retreat, but now Casu is left out in open field. Casu also waddling back to that pillar here, and once again, it's going to be another setup from MYWAY, but not really forcing out anything here. Just looks like the Swapsy and Jamie show. Casu getting blasted. Nice root there by Jamie. Ice Fury comes in, and Casu will be able to stay alive, but Luxia's got basically no mana left. Sleepwalk gets casted out there by Nex, but not able to find its target. Next, once again, pushing in here, looking for the damage, gets the disintegrates here onto Tony. Jamie on one side, Swapsy on the other. Fire Breath connects here. They're trying to make a push right now onto Next. Next actually trying to pre-Obsidian Scale right there and pre-renewing Blaze, but not able to find it. And Luxia is going to get absolutely blasted right now. Nice interrupt there on the Lightning Lasso, but Luxia's got no mana left. I don't know how much longer MYWAY are going to be able to stay alive here.
It's not looking like too much longer, but Tony throws in some off heals as well, really trying to just help Luxia. But Admiral Esports, they smell blood in the water. They're pushing forward. Luxia gets dropped, and Admiral Esports with a very clean game number 1. There were moments of pressure for MYWAY during this game, but I never really felt like Admiral Esports was going to lose. There was never that moment of like, oh, this next setup, it's going to be, MYWAY. Admiral Esports needs to be really careful here. There was never that moment of panic. So I feel like I don't know if this jungle is really going to work out for MYWAY, because with the way Admiral Esports played this, I think this is a fairly safe matchup.
Yeah, I agree. There was always like, okay, for the next setup, they have, something. They have, a trinket onto next. They have the Emerald Communion. They got something to work with here. So there was never really a moment of pure panic. And I think a lot of it just stems from the fact that they couldn't get enough pressure onto Swapsy. Swapsy just knew, I'm going to be a target. I'm just going to sit in bear form. And look at this setup here from next. Actually, the replay ended right in the middle of it, but it was a nice deep breath into Sleepwalk. And then they got a low cycle. That was a really nice kind of sequence of events for Admiral Esports. They've been looking really, really bulletproof here on this Wizard comp. Gotta say, Swapsy's been doing a great job on the Moonkin so far. And here, you get a Sleepwalk onto Tony. They get the Lightning Lasso onto Luxia. And at this point, Luxia's got nothing left to work with. He's got 0 mana left. He has to heal Tony. He has to heal himself. He gets a Dream Projection, powerful healing over time effect out, but it's not enough at this point. Jamie is just all over him. He gets a big Earth Shock, and then Swapsy's on the other side as well. Manages to connect with a Star Surge, and Luxia just dies to dots there at the end around the pillar. And it is going to be a victory here for Admiral Esports.
I feel like for evokers, this is what I personally think. I feel like when you are playing that preservation evoker, if you are playing a comp where you're forced at the pillar the whole game, preservation evokers do not excel. Like, preservation evokers are going to excel in matchups where your team is kind of pushing the pace. You're moving in, you have kind of an offensive presence. That's where I feel like that specialization does its best. When you're kind of the solo caster on your team, we saw it in the damage breakdown actually. I believe it was Next, was able to basically like 5x the amount of damage that Lexi is dealing, because he's not having to deal with all the extra interrupts. Next has the freedom of, interrupts being soaked by Swapsy and Jamie in the match, and he can get a lot of casts off. He can manage his mana a lot better. So I do like this more. I feel like Tony on the Balance Druid, I'm going to be honest, I feel like Balance is just better than Feral. Like, I don't really know what Feral brings to the table that a Balance Druid doesn't just do better. You're going to have more of a presence in the match with Cyclones. You're going to be able to shut down damage better. Your overall damage is going to be higher. You're going to allow Lexi a little bit more freedom in the match. So I feel like Tony kind of just going with that Feral, or going with the Balance Druid, tagging out the Feral, I think is the right move.
Yeah, also Kasu swapping over to Beast Mastery Hunter was survival in the last game. So I think in general, this is something we have seen from MYWAY in the past. So I'm kind of happy to see them bring it back. Have Tony on the Balance Druid. He's going to be able to get some work done, and just have Kasu kind of sit back, have his pets do a lot of work, and that is going to allow Luxia a little bit more freedom. So Tony is going to be able to soak up some of those wind cheers, some of those interrupts on the side of Admiral Esports. That's going to allow Luxia to get a little bit more damage off, and he's just going to have more kind of ranged pressure. The problem with jungle is you go in, you get your setup, then you go back behind the pillar, and while you're behind the pillar, Jamie is blasting you on one side, Swapsy is blasting you on the other side. Next is kind of sitting behind him, getting fire breaths, being able to push in when everything's on DR and do whatever he wants. So Next is able to just get a lot more damage out. This way, I think Luxia is going to be able to be a little bit closer in that total damage, since their setup isn't very like hit and run compared to like a jungle.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like at the end of it all, it was Luxia just kind of went out of mana, right? Like, I feel like if he had the mana and the tank, he was able to recover mana with Disintegrates. He wasn't just eating every single interrupt. It would give them some longevity in the match. So this comp, I do believe, is going to be a lot better here for MYWAY. I like the Beast Mastery Hunter. I like the larger map. I feel like this should work out a lot better. And we have seen this composition before. It seems solid. Like, you have a lot of crowd control with Cyclone and Traps, and Sleepwalk from Luxia. You have a lot of kill potential with the consistent damage of that BM Hunter, as well as like the Mortal Strike effect, which is going to be reducing incoming healing from the Hunter, and then obviously the huge amount of burst and consistent damage that Balanced Druids really do bring to the table. So we'll see if they can get it done here on Astra Main's Fall. It's their map and composition pick. Can they get a point here against Admiral Esports? Or is Admiral Esports going to kind of continue their success? I mean, this team has been looking really good. They closed it out in second place last week in Cup number 2, right behind Echo. And they're looking to have a really good season. So we'll see what they can get done, and if they can actually beat MYWAY here with a clean 3-0.
Yeah, let's see if they can do it. Admiral Esports right now looking like the second best team in Europe, which is a step up. In that last season, they did look kind of a little bit, they look kind of similar to the Agents, but just slightly worse. But this season, they've had a great run so far. Really being the only team that's able to test Echo somewhat. So far, they have been, losing that battle, but they are making their way to potentially another upper bracket final here against Echo if they can win these next 2 games here against MYWAY. Right now, we are going to see everybody on MYWAY just sitting at the pillar, a very defensive posture. And a big thing for Kasu is that Crocolisk. He's been playing with the Crocolisk. I actually wonder if he is rocking it in this matchup, but it has gotten them some really, really big pressure in their previous matches. So we'll keep an eye out for that cooldown. But right now, it is going to be all about Admiral Esports just kind of pushing the pace.
Yeah, let's see what they can do. We have an interrupt, scatter here, a stun scatter onto Next, into a trap, good crowd control, but where is the damage to follow it up? Doesn't look like they're able to find any. Swapsy just kind of preemptively trades out the Bark Skin, but finally getting bursted down a little bit. Tony goes into a Cyclone. Luxia also getting pressured here, so it seems like Admiral Esports, they favor pressuring the Evoker in this matchup, putting a lot of kind of dot damage on him, burst damage on him, and that way all 3 members kind of rot down. And just look at the offense here from Admiral Esports. Them playing this Elemental Shaman Moonkin. These 2 casters don't actually cast that much, so it's a lot of their damage ends up just being instant, and they're pretty effective at just chasing you down in situations like this. Jamie and Swapsy get really aggressive. An offensive Cyclone here on Tony. Luxia is struggling to stay alive. Kasu getting bursted down. This is not looking good for the side of MYWAY.
Yeah, nice clone though there onto Jamie. Should slow things down here. Tony actually using his big damage cooldowns here right now. Also going to see a lightning lasso onto Casu. So let's see what they can get done here. Swaps is going to cyclone Tony, try to slow him down a little bit. Jamie takes a little bit of pressure. And next now pushing in here, getting big damage. Huge deep breath right there. Connects onto everyone. But Luxia did have that nullifying shroud to kind of block the stun from it. Next now getting interrupted here by Casu. Casu trying to push him back here with that damage. And as long as MYWAY can kind of run around the pillar and keep the Hunter damage going, it is not too bad for them. But right now, Jamie and Swaps is able to find so much pressure. Mana pretty even between both healers. Both healers also have that Emerald Communion. Tony gets cycloned low, and they find a recyclone here. Tony could be in a little bit of trouble here. Doesn't have the Bark Skin. Has the Renewal, though, to work with. Dream Projection coming out for Luxia. And it is going to be next actually trying to duck back there for a drink. He actually is able to recover quite a decent amount of mana. So they cyclone the pets there to make sure that next gets that drink. Really nicely done there by Swapsy.
They definitely really having a solid couple of games here. We're at 10% dampening, and dampening will start ramping relatively soon. Root Beam here on to next. So big deep breath by Luxia. Can they capitalize on the situation? Next gets full trap. Swapsy taking a little damage. See what they can do. Both teams do manage to top off. Mana still greatly in favor of next here. It is not even close at this point in the game. This is the incarnation from Tony. Let's see what he can get done. He's getting blasted, and that is not what you want. You are playing the balanced druid. If you have your cooldowns rolling, you do not want to have to play defensive. You do not want to have to go into bear form. And Tony, unfortunately, is just running away, having to play really, really safe here, as there's just such an immense amount of pressure from Jamie and Swapsy. It's a bit of a ring around the rosy here. This pillar is just running circles around this pillar. One team is trying to run away, the other team is trying to pursue. But if you are that team that is pursuing, you can get caught. You need to be careful. Jamie doesn't want to push in too deep. Good pressure here for the side of MYWAY for the first time in this match, as both Jamie and Swapsy getting a little bit low. Next is going to have to use a lot of mana to actually top them both off.
Yeah. Let's see if they can continue with that pressure right now. Kazu could be in a little bit of trouble. Tony gets cycloned here once again. Next, also with that nullifying shroud, is going to be feeling very confident. Actually gets purged off, and they managed to find a root beam here. A lot of pressure potentially here onto Swapsy. He realizes the situation he's in, goes into bear form, activates the frenzied region, trades out the bark skin as well. Early defensive trade there for Swapsy, and next actually going to trinket out of that cyclone. Doesn't want to fall too far behind here. He's got the mana lead slightly, but so far Lux has been doing a good job conserving his mana. He hasn't gotten any drinks, which next did, and Luxia is basically tied on mana here, just slightly behind. So if Luxia can keep it up, he might be able to kind of tie it up there in the mana department, but cooldown's not looking too good here. Kasu really without too much left to work with. Next pushing in here with a deep breath onto Tony, and Swapsy actually getting quelled there by Luxia into a bash here. So Swapsy could actually be falling behind. Scattershot onto Next. Next manages to go in there with a rescue shield, but Swapsy forced to play a little bit of defense there. So MYWAY definitely showing some signs of life here, but that drink really is hurting them, because next, if it comes down to mana, that could be the deciding factor, honestly. Jamie right now in a Cyclone. Trinket's out actually out of a DR Cyclone, getting aggressive here onto Tony. They managed to find a Cyclone onto Tony, and Tony actually trinketing out as well. Incarnation is rolling. Jamie tries out the Astral Shift here. Everybody respecting the cooldown. Rewind coming out there for Next as well. And Luxia not looking too good here. Mana is dropping lower and lower for him. And Admiral Esports definitely winning the war of attrition right now.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I feel like they're also winning the pressure war, although Swapsy is taking kind of a lot of damage, but Cassie might just go down. Aspect of the Turtle might need to trade it. It does. Luxia does not have the cooldowns to manage that kind of burst damage. Swapsy has that Incarnation rolling. It's a lot of pressure available. Now Luxia is just getting blasted. Keep in mind, he was the one that fell in the last game. He has been pressured quite a bit in this match. Jamie now into a Cyclone. Scatter on to Next. Good counter setup here by MYWAY. Casu and Tony doing what they can to try to keep Luxia alive and get some pressure rolling. Jamie's going to be burrowing, getting under the ground. There's a nice rescue by Next, bringing him to safety. Giving a big Dream Projection out to just kind of top everybody off and allow Jamie to continue this really aggressive push he's been having here on this Elemental Shaman. But finally looking a little bit scared. He's pressed away, and I feel like as dampening gets higher, that Mortal Strike effects from the Beast Mastery Hunter is going to get stronger and stronger, and Jamie has to be careful, but at the same time, I feel like MYWAY, they may have ran out of time. Everyone at Admiral Esports is topped off. MYWAY is just in so much trouble. Tony down in bear form with Barkskin up, just doing what he can to survive. All three members of MYWAY. This is looking like it could easily be a triple kill, and that looks like it almost was. Admiral Esports with a very dominant game number 2 as well. MYWAY, there were moments in the game where it felt like Jamie and Swapsy maybe overextended and there was some pressure on them, but overall, it just get the feeling that Admiral Esports, their composition is superior. They feel confident to push in the entire game, and it's really playing into their favor.
Yeah, Admiral Esports just basically holding down the gas the entire time and never really taking their foot off of it. And they're able to find just insane pressure. Once again, winning on mana. And you're starting to see, you know, how well they are playing this composition here with the LA Shaman. You can see here next just lifting Jamie back into the action, giving him a shield and allowing him to reposition for that counter pressure. Constant cyclones here onto Tony. Jamie pushing in, proccing the lavas, getting a lot of work done, and also assisting, you know, like here, Jamie playing a little bit defensive while Next is sitting through that root beam. But look at the mana, you know, Next having such a great time in terms of mana. And again, it's that damage differential. Next, just being able to get a lot more damage off compared to Luxia, and largely that's because of the disruption that the LA Shaman kind of brings. And at this point, Next is just channeling out the disintegrates. He manages to land a kick, living flames, ducking around the corner, doing a great job with that. Luxia finally gets his Emerald Communion back, but it's just not enough. You know, Tony's dying through it, Caster's dying through it. Everybody is just getting absolutely demolished on the side of MYWAY, and there's not really much that Luxia can do to keep them alive at this point. You know, Dampening is also stacking up here, working against him, whereas Next, he's been able to cruise throughout this match. And I really feel like that play that they made early on, you know, just going for that early drink. It's really hard to drink against hunters and, you know, pet classes in general, but Swapsy cycloning the pets and allowing Next to just get, you know, a couple of ticks. It's enough to allow Next to really play with this confidence and do what he wants, but also just the fact that Next is able to do so much more damage, get out so many more disintegrates, is really allowing Admiral Esports to kind of be in this situation where they have this huge mana lead and they can just continue to push the pace. So just a lot of aggression, a lot of damage as well. I mean, look at the scoreboard. We can see it right here. You know, Jamie and Swapsy doing a lot more damage. I mean, look at that damage differential between Tony and Swapsy. That is a 50% damage differential in favor of Swapsy.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a lot, and I feel like it's just so tough for Luxia. I just feel like he's so far on the back foot in these matchups, and when you are playing that Evoker, like I said, you want to be the team that's pushing in. You want to be able to like clip these disintegrates that are going to recover your mana and do damage and just put you even further ahead in the match. So we're going to Tolveron Arena, but it seems like map size doesn't really matter. This is one of those situations where pillar size is what they want. So they went to Ashamains and they just played on one pillar the entire game. They're not really trying to create too much space and actually kite away. It's more of just have a good pillar that you can kite around and try to hold on. But Admiral Esports, they're making the map small. Even though they're playing the caster composition, this is one of the few caster compositions where you actually can afford to really bully the enemy team. You can push in and actually play right in their face because so much of your damage is actually not casted. It's a lot of instant burst and instant damage that you have available on that Elemental Shaman as well as that Moonkin. So, you know, people can't avoid your damage nearly as easily. And when you are grouped up, you're actually just going to be getting cleaved down by everyone. So, MYWAY, do they have a better composition? I don't know. I feel like it's just tough. I feel like for MYWAY and similar with the agents, they're just trying to figure out something against, you know, these Evoker Moonkin teams, and it's just been such a struggle so far. We're going to see Tony on the Moonkin once again, or I believe they do have Inferni on their team too, right? I feel like maybe they could play like Demo. They play like Demo. I feel like I would like that more. But Caster's just going to go for the trifecta. Survival didn't work. BM didn't work. So bring in the Marks Hunter and hopefully that works. But I actually don't really like the Marks Hunter. And the main reason why I don't like it is Marks Hunter is one of the few specializations that actually benefits greatly from hitting low armor targets. And all three members of Admiral Esports have a lot of armor. So the overall damage that the Marks Hunter is going to be able to do it's going to be greatly reduced by hitting, you know, a Preservation Evoker, an Elemental Shaman, and a Moonkin. So I don't know how effective he's going to be here.
Yeah, Marks Hunters, they love to hit mages, but no
both of us know. Yeah.
Yeah, both of us have been one shot by just one rapid fire. So we'll see. I feel like MYWAY, they're just trying it out. You know, this is still an upper bracket game. So if they lose here, they're going to go down to that lower bracket. but it is tough for sure. I would have liked maybe to see Infernion tagged in and just go for that Moonkin Demo Warlock, because that is a comp that, you know, Echo has used to beat Admiral Esports in this matchup. So maybe just not feeling confident enough for that. Maybe they just don't have Infernion available right now. Either way, I'm going to see Casu tagged in on the Emblem Hunter. And I feel like it's going to be tough for him to actually get that damage off on the MM Hunter. I feel like the BM Hunter worked better, but we'll see. It's easier to get the damage off without actually taking a lot of damage, because that's one of the things about MM Hunter, you know. You have to cast a lot of aim shots. You have to kind of be out in open field and cast a lot. And that could definitely be, you know, a really scary thing to do when on the opposite side there's Jamie, there's Swapsy just blasting you with you know, magic. So we'll see what MYWAY can do here, but they're down 0-2. They need to get something going here fast. Can Tulvir turn it around in this potential last game here?
We're going to wait and see. I mean, you have the Marks Hunter on the large map. This is exactly what you want. But if we see Admiral Esports make that push and make the map really small and basically force MYWAY on one pillar, I feel like this is going to be a really rough matchup for MYWAY. If MYWAY can actually force Swapsy and Jamie defensive in the match, I feel like that's going to be kind of what makes the game good for them. Sniper shot coming in from Casu. Huge hit of damage there on Swapsy, but he shrugs it off. Tony right now getting pretty aggressive too with a Root Solar Beam onto Next. And you can see Cassie just hitting what he can. Now going after Next, blasting him on that Hunter, popping a lot of his offensive cooldowns. That True Shot aura, aim shot after aim shot. Swapsy's getting sniped, but do they have the damage to actually force Swapsy and Jamie defensive? Big rapid fire comes in as well. Cassie getting work done, looking for aim shots, but has to make sure he's in the line of sight of the enemy target to actually deal damage. And if Jamie and Swapsy just play on top of him, he's also going to be taking a huge hit of damage, which is something Hunters are very susceptible to.
Yeah, absolutely. But he does have the Roar of Sacrifice. He trades it out there, as he did get caught up in that stun. And rapid fires coming out for Casters, trying to channel some aim shots. But right now his cooldowns have faded, so his damage is going to be a little bit lower than what we saw at the start of the game. Trying to go for some aim shot. He gets knocked there, actually. Nicely done. And again, they're just going to continue to try to make sure that Casu doesn't get as many of these aim shots off as possible. But look at Jamie. Actually takes a lot of damage. Big rapid fire, but Casu as well. It's going to be a lot of ping-ponging in terms of health. Casu is definitely going to be just going up and down in that health department. So Lux is going to have to deal with some crazy burst. But right now, Tony taking a lot of damage. He gets Wind Shear. There's a Root Solar Beam onto Luxia. Luxia trades out the Emerald Communion, and he is able to recover them. And trading it out kind of early is not going to be bad, because he's going to be able to recover some of that mana and potentially get another Emerald Communion later on in the match. Tony Fake Cast gets the precognition here. And now Tony looking to push in here, looking to get some damage down. But Casu, look at him getting absolutely blasted right now. And Swapsy, anytime Casu gets too much damage, he can just duck into bear form, get a lot of that armor, access that frenzied regen until he is back to safety. But now Casu activating that True Shot. He's going to have a lot of haste here. He gets cycloned on it. Nicely done there by Swapsy. Shutting down Casu during his cooldowns is going to be crucial for their momentum.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Right now, Luxia still playing so defensive in the match so far. Just forced to kind of retreat. Finally getting some Disintegrates out and contributing to the damage. That's what you like to see. You do have an Evoker on your side. You know, Fire Breath and Disintegrates and Living Flames. That's where the Evoker kind of advantage really excels, if you can get those off. Jamie right now pushing in, still take quite a bit of damage. He gets bashed. Tony playing a good defense here, looking for a Cyclone, unable to find it. Gets rescued back to behind the pillar. Luxia says, hey, we need you to group up. And that's one of the unfortunate things, is like, as that Evoker, you want all your team basically stacked up so you can get the Dream Breaths out and get everyone nice and topped off. So if Tony's pushed in and Cassie's just sitting back, it becomes really difficult for Luxia to actually heal. Yeah,
and I do like the swaps that they're doing to Next, but so far Next not really feeling too much of the heat to get a Root Solar Beam. They're going after Casu, and at the same time, Casu's trying to get some counter pressure. But when you have that Root Solar Beam, you really want to get somebody low. And Jamie and Swapsy are both just sitting at full HP here. Now Swapsy is going to be feeling very confident to just start blasting here. Rapid fire coming out for Casu. Decent amount of damage, but Casu needs to be afraid as well. Swapsy does duck into bear form, but look at Casu once again. Exhilaration comes out. Here's the unused trinket, though. Big damage potential here for Casu as he does get caught up. He gets pulled back there into a very, very dangerous situation. Nice double knock there, actually. Casu, though, disengaged back. That was really, really close, actually, to just be having Casu there in the middle of the map. That was really nice reaction by Casu to that situation. He got pulled from the totem into a thunderstorm there by Jamie. He tried to get him with the double whammy, but Casu was really quick on that disengage, and now Casu is able to cross the map here, but Jamie's blasting off. The meatballs are proccing. Big damage here coming out from Jamie on that Ellie Shaman, and another root solar beam coming out here onto Luxia, but he is going to be able to duck away and dodge that root. And now Lightning Lash coming out here onto Casu, who's taking a lot of damage here every single time he activates these cooldowns with the True Shot. Casu is going to be very dangerous to deal with, but so far they've been able to shut it down with Cyclones, with Lightning Lassos. Admiral Esports once again just in full control here. Big damage hit coming out onto Casu with that Fire Breath. Once again, Jamie looking for the kill. Can he find it? So close. That is going to be the aspect of the turtle here for Casu.
Yeah, Casu really burning through those defensive cooldowns. He's got nothing left, but it might be Tony that ends up falling. Huge burst coming in. Next getting awesome burst, Swapsy as well, and they are just pushing in. Admiral Esports is unrelenting in this matchup. They get the 3-0 over MYWAY. They want that rematch versus Echo. I mean, I'm curious to see what Admiral Esports is going to be able to get done this week. So far, they've had an absolutely incredible run. They're going to be going up against Echo on Sunday, now that they've set themselves up in that upper bracket final. But this is a really impressive performance. I feel like this team is really proving, what a force they are in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, Admiral Esports have really been ramping up this season, and they're really looking like one of the contenders for, the entire season so far. Consistent, top 3 finishes for them, and they're starting to rack up those points. And if you're Admiral Esports, that's exactly what you want, because you never know, how next cup is going to go, what happens. So it's really nice for Admiral Esports to be able to actually find those wins here early on. And this was such a nice combo. Again, Jamie with that static field totem knock combo. And then here actually Luxia pushes in for a deep breath and kind of crowd controls himself there for a second. Jamie also rooting Luxia there with that Frost Shock root. So Jamie doing a lot of work in this one and is able to grab his team the win there at the end. And unfortunately for MYWAY, they're going to be knocked down to that lower bracket. They're not out of the tournament yet, though. And we're going to see them a little bit later on during the day. But it's got to feel nice for Admiral Esports to get their rematch here against Echo. And we'll see if they can actually make something happen. Because so far, it's been about Echo and Admiral Esports. Echo, looking absolutely dominant earlier today, just blasting the agents. And Admiral Esports looking just as equally dominant in this one.
Yeah, most definitely. That was a very good series for them. We'll see if MYWAY can make a comeback here in that series against Casual Granddads for the last one of the day. And that means that we are now heading down into that lower bracket. We've got the Agents facing off against Caster Meta. We saw Caster Meta play against Bamboozle earlier on today. This is the team that was playing that fist weaving composition with the Enhancement Shaman and the Warlock. So we're going to see how they do against the Agents in just a moment here. Here is that bracket as well. They are coasting down there in the lower bracket, and there's the semifinals also that is now shaped up. Echo versus Admirals Esports. That's going to be definitely a fun one, but we will have to wait until Sunday to see that. But next up, Agents and Caster Meta. Then, what's your take on this series?
I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. Caster Meta, from what we've seen earlier today, they're playing kind of an unorthodox composition, bringing in the Mistweaver Monk, playing that Fistweaver specialization with the Enhancement Shaman and Demonology Warlock. And I feel like overall, it's a very well-rounded composition. The one thing they did struggle with, even against their series against Bamboozle, was the large maps. So on large maps, when Warlocks are able to kite, it becomes a lot more difficult for that Fistweaver Monk to actually get high value. So we'll see if it comes down to like a map thing, but and the Grand Arena is unfortunately going to be their starting point. They're going to be playing against the Agents. I think the Agents probably have a pretty good idea of what they're going to be running, and unfortunately for Caster Meta, the Agents has a lot more than just, these Warlock Shadow Priest teams. They have, different answers that they could bring in, like the Fury Warrior. I think that's when the game gets really, really kind of unstable if you are going to be playing that Fistweaver specialization. If you can be targeted down by specs like the Fistweaver and they can ramp up their Mortal Strike effect and really reduce all your incoming healing, it becomes really difficult to stay active in the match. So Caster Meta might have to try to lock something else in.
Yeah, Definitely. We'll see if they can do that. They're going to be having that blind lock composition for game number 1 in this upcoming series here, and it's elimination as well on the line for both of these teams. We've talked so much today about how important those points are getting, especially as we're nearing the end of those first 4 qualifying cups. So we'll see what either of these teams have prepared for the other after this break. It's Agents versus Caster Meta up next.
AWC, and we do have a very exciting matchup coming up next year. I'm joined with Aya and Supatees. It is going to be the Agents versus Caster Meta. What do you make of this one, Aya?
I'm excited for this one. You know, Caster Meta, they had a pretty rough go against Bamboozle. That was a best of 5, really close games against them, and I feel like they're playing a really interesting composition that I'm curious about how it goes against what Agents brings to the table, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Caster Meta, we'll see if they continue with that enhancement shaman or if they have, a few different options. I feel like they looked really good against the shadow play, but against the Agents here, Super T's, I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a different ball game.
We're 2 for 2 for today. I'm expecting Demonology Warlock and Elemental Shaman here from the side of the Agents, but it seems like Resto Druid hasn't been that great for Asgarest in that one game that we saw. So if they're still relying on that, Caster Meta with a Fistweaver Monk could be really tough for them if they are relying on a Wizard Cleave composition. Mercy has been playing some Fury Warrior. I wonder if they might incorporate some melee DPS in a matchup like this, but honestly, those patch changes I feel like have weakened the Agents quite significantly overall, and to the point where maybe they could even lose in a series like this. And they're going to actually bring a Balance Druid in. They've got Mercy coming in on Balance Druid, Zeepai on Elemental, Asgarath on the Evoker, whereas the side of Caster Meta, I would say this is their main comp. Enhancement Shaman, Fury Warrior, Mistweaver, the Turbo Cleave, but Moonkin Ellie just absolutely knocks this comp. Like, it is so hard to win this matchup as Axiom and Dox. So yeah, I'm wishing the best of luck to them. This is a really tough matchup.
Yeah, we're going to see what we can do here. Getting Dox hopping back on that main composition from the Warlock that he was opting to play earlier on today, so we can see if he can make things happen here. He's already getting targeted in the middle by Zeepai, just right up in his face in the middle of the map here, so already quite a bit happening in the center here. Dox using quite a bit to keep that pressure mitigated from him. Mercy and Axiom dropping just a little bit low here. He's going to be hanging on to that Astral Shift. Nisty going to keep him safe for now. Just kidding. He's going to end up using it. Mercy kind of stun on the other side here. Doesn't have to trinket to get out of it. So everything's kind of nice and even right now. Nicely paced for the moment. But it kind of looks like Caster Meta maybe dipping just a little bit in terms of defensives that they've had to utilize. No trinket as well for Axiom. Dox under a little bit of trouble here. About 20% health is going to be okay for now. Nesty keeping him alive. Doesn't have that, has that cocoon available for him if he needs it. But definitely a lot of pressure in that last go there, Sid.
The main goal of the Agents here is to try and keep away from NST. He's running that fist weaving build, so he needs to be in melee range to heal. So if you can knock him back, kite away with wild charge right here, and avoid his attacks, it's really stressful. Like right there, he had to use life cocoon because for a global, he was out of range of anything to melee attack, which is why this matchup is so tough. There's so much crowd control. Look at this setup right now. NST into a solar beam. Axiom has to burrow beneath the ground. NST manages to get out of the solar beam a little bit early though, and is connecting quite a bit of damage if they can keep their uptime. Asgarath's going to respect that. Trade out the Emerald Communion with that knockback. Axiom's having a tough time connecting. They're going to Cyclone NST. And the High Winds is super effective against Fistweaving Monk because when you come out of a Cyclone, you do 30% less damage and 30% less healing. And that double dips on Fistweaver because you're doing damage to heal. So it's really tough. That's why this matchup is so difficult. And honestly, if they can't win on mana, which they aren't at this point, I think it just gets worse for them. Hexes are now starting to land on Axiom, taking him out of the fight for some time. The static field totems pulling the melee DPS all away. It's just, they're just going to keep them off of themselves, keep pushing them away, keep getting distance, and slowly strangle out their mana bar. Looks like they're making a swap on a Zeepai, trying to mix it up, maybe catch them off guard. But Asgarath blocks it. He's ready for the hit. Now Dox is in trouble. Here comes the Incarnation. Big pressure, deep breath across the whole team. They are getting decimated, and that would be it in game one. This composition will not work for Caster Meta if the Agents continue to bring the Ellie Boomkin. They're going to need something different.
Are you surprised that they picked that composition? I mean, I know that they did kind of hop back into their mains, but you think that was a good choice for them for the blind? Their best choice, I guess?
Probably two things. They're probably like, oh, this is the Agents. We have to respect them. So we're going to play our main comp. The other thing is they might have thought they were going to pick a Demo lock, which is a lot easier to deal with than a Boomkin. And I don't know. Is this the first time we've seen Mercy on Boomkin? I want to say that it is. So I wouldn't have expected him to be Boomkin because I don't think that he has played Boomkin at this point. So if you're expecting Demo Warlock, you want to respect them because they're their mains. I think you would do good into Demo Lock. Well, at least a lot better than this matchup. It makes sense for them to pick what they've picked. But now moving into game two, having seen this, I've played this matchup on the ladder. I've seen it from both perspectives. This is just not a matchup that you want to get, especially as a Fistweaver monk. Maybe normal ranged Mistweaver, even that you can still just get crowd controlled. Like right here, NST just can't get in melee range of anything, so he can't Fistweave, and he dies just before he gets there to Phaline Stomp. And it's just so mobile between Ellie and Boomkin, and so many knockbacks, so many roots, so much crowd control that this is just like the Omega counter to this type of strategy and this type of composition. So for game 2, they're going to have to incorporate their Warlock that we saw in their first series, I think. They also had a Shadow Priest that listed on their roster, I believe, at one point. So with Hannick, I'm not sure if he was also playing the Warlock, but like some type of Wizard Cleave Mirror is probably going to be better for them in this type of matchup. And I think that they could win on mana with just a normal build of Mistweaver, just a standard play Wizard matchup against an Evoker Healer. Because Evoker Healer has to get close. And if they get close, you can swap to them and you can burn their mana really fast and remove their bonus mastery healing. So if they have a Wizard comp, they're going to likely have to bring it out. I think also in previous weeks, you saw them play a Shadow Priest Fury Warrior. That would be at least better, I think, than what they just ran for a matchup.
Yeah. Okay, well, it looks like they're locking in hook points, so are they going to stick to their melee composition, maybe? What do you think now that we've seen the map?
I mean, they could. They're going to have to play with one melee DPS no matter what, and the agents are going to play casters, I think, in any circumstance. So, and this just seems like a really good comp for them against caster meta, given the fact that Turbo is their main comp. If they pick Turbo here, though, I don't know. I wouldn't agree with it. I'm trying to think if like Demo Enhance doesn't sound too. Maybe it's better, but it's still not great. I think like a Shadow Priest would be really effective in a matchup like this. It's super durable, has a lot of utility, a lot of healing for the team to pad some of the damage that's incoming from a Boomkin and a Elemental Shaman. So like a Shadow Priest with Siphing, and then a Fury Warrior training a target could be really threatening. But yeah, I don't know. The Enhancement Shaman is just really easy to kite as this type of comp.
Yeah. All right. Well, they've got about a minute left. I also do have some stats for Mercy on Boomkin. This is actually the first time we've seen him in this entire expansion on Boomkin, at least on broadcast. So yeah, absolutely well done to him. You know, we're used to seeing him on that Warlock. This whole team has really kind of adopted a lot of alternative specs with the agents. So they're having a solid season so far, and clearly this series is working out for them so far. I mean, it is only game number 1. It is best of 5, but it is elimination, so look a little bit scary for either team here. Definitely don't want to get knocked out. Caster meta going to be using that entire delay timer so far, about only 30 seconds left. They've got 2 whole minutes to kind of decide what they want to do, but I'm curious if they are just going to lock in that melee comp against it, and they're just going to try and make minor adjustments with that, or are we going to see them revert to the comp that they played against Bamboozle? Who knows? Definitely a lot of choices that they could be making here. Seems a little bit difficult for them at the moment.
Yeah, just running the clock out here. They want to talk it through. I mean, they have a really good chance here that if they could win the series to get into the guaranteed kind of gauntlet phase moving into cup number 4, so they don't need to be as stressed maybe if they don't make a top 8. They're going to play the same comp, but no Mistweaver. And I mean, that makes more sense. I think the Mistweaver in this matchup is just kind of a sitting duck. It's all the tools to exploit a Mistweaver. So getting the Mistweaver out of there, bringing a Shaman, that's just going to be more grounding totems, more shears for casts, more mana pool. It definitely makes sense, but how experienced is he here? First time I think we've seen him off Mistweaver monk. You're fighting the agents, like this is, you know, top dog team. If you're not bringing your A game, like it's going to be hard.
Yeah, definitely. And there's really no room for any sort of forgiveness here. I mean, the agents, they have been here for quite a long time as a roster here in the AWC. A lot of tournaments played together. Caster meta, not so much. So you can bet that the agents are going to be drawing on that experience in a situation such as this, when both of them have their backs against the wall. So caster meta opting to change out that healer in favor of Resto Shaman. We will see. I mean, that's going to change the entire way that they approach this match quite a bit, Sid. I mean, what do we, you kind of already mentioned, and we've got totems from Nessie, a lot of the utility that the Shaman brings in. But if you're the agents, do you think that they're going to have to change their approach a little bit?
I mean, it's still the same game of keep away. Just don't limit the Fury Warriors uptime, limit the Enhancement Shamans uptime. They could try and play this to try and see if they can win on mana. Like we saw Resto Shamans earlier struggling on mana. So if they can win on mana, then it's just a game of keep away. Just don't let the Enhancement Shaman and Fury Warrior get uptime. Cyclone them, get High Winds application, root them, knock them, move them away with the Static Field Totem. Just keep the melee DPS contained, and then just strangle out the healer's mana with Flame Shock Lava Bursts and Dots and Star Surges. I think is going to be the main strategy for the side of the agents. They have a lot of tools. I mean, even having the Evoker Healer to rescue and move people around the map is just another mobility tool that caster meta are going to have to deal with. So if they can get uptime, Turbo is definitely threatening, but they're going to have to make sure they're landing their interrupts on clone. Every time Mercy gets a fake on a clone and gets precog, and it's going to be like the end of all their momentum.
Yep, that nerf is not in yet, so definitely got to be careful with that one. But game has kicked off about 10 seconds in already. The agents already right up in the face of caster meta. Axiom Docs already dipping a little bit low in health here. Riptide Areno, or Nesty, otherwise known as, going to be keeping his team alive. Mercy, however, having to use that Bark Skin. Asgrath trying to keep pressure off of him with that nullifying shroud. We're seeing just a lot of back and forth already, but 30 seconds into this game, we are on Hook Point, smallest map in the pool for AWC, so this is going to be a very aggressive game from both sides. Axiom, about 20% health, is going to get topped up from Nesty, but we're seeing Mercy just chase all over across the map. Axiom, Docs, and Mercy just all on top of each other. This melee pool of death in the middle of this map here, Sid. This is already on a very fiery matchup.
Yeah, no bar skin, but Axiom's on the back foot. Is he just going to die? Lightning Lasso onto the healer. He's at 10%. Is he going to burrow 1%? He was going to go down. And even with the Resto Shaman pick, like Mercy and Zeepai are so threatening on this composition. Just really impressive. Just completely dismantling this matchup. Knowing exactly what they need to do and just keeping the damage really high in this game is now going to put them on match point. And I mean, I'm starting to count caster meta out as we're moving here. I think like last ditch effort for them is probably Shadow Priest, Resto Sham, Fury Warrior. I just is thinking of like the most possible or ideal composition situation. You just can't play Enhancement Shaman into Boomkin Ellie. With Ghost Wolf, Thunderstorms, and the mobility that both these casters have, that you feral charge, and then you're just never hitting somebody, and you're just walking until you die, basically, slowly back to the target. So, like, he got uptime here, and it was kind of scary. And then you're getting pressured, you get cloned, you lose your momentum. Mercy gets topped off pretty easily when there's only one DPS, and then they clone the warrior. So there's no uptime. Healer gets sheared, and boom, you're out in the middle of the map, and you're just like, please, I want to be near a pillar, but I can't get there. I'm an Enhancement Shaman. And then he goes down in the middle of the map. Like, Enhance is really kind of like all in right now, and I kind of wonder if he's I would imagine he's playing the Doomwinds build. I just want to check on the gear check if he is actually, in fact, yeah, he is running the Doomwinds Wind Fury build. So you go for like this really big burst moment and try and catch somebody off guard. But if your opponents are, properly tracking that, it's going to be really easy to negate. I think Time Dilation and Barkskin probably is enough on its own. So like that type of one shot's really good in solo shuffle when people aren't as coordinated or maybe as aware. But at this high level of play, that Doomwinds one shot combo against a team like the Agents, like they know what it looks like. They're going to deflect it, and then as soon as that one shot's gone, you're just not threatening as the Enhancement Shaman. And they just get control. I mean, NST here could Trinket Link, but it's like you're already down Astral Shift, you're down both trinkets, and then you're down Link at that point. I don't think it's going to go well for you at that point. So didn't they struggle with the Agents last time they met too? I think it was in Cup. It was either Cup 1. I don't think it was last. Might have been last week. But I swear they struggled with this type of matchup with one of the teams. It might have been Admirals Esports because they were also running the Boomkin Ellie. And they tried Fury Warrior Shadow Priest, and they kind of just died really fast. So it just seems like this is a team that is hard for them. They're going to bring the comp that they played in the first series, the Demo Enhancement. It's still a decent combo. It's basically like the Fury Warrior, but you've got the safety of the Warlock from ranged. He's also going to tank some interrupts for the healer, which is nice, and get a little bit of extra crowd control as opposed to the Warrior. So I don't think it's a terrible comp. Overall, actually kind of surprisingly good. Enhancement Demo Mistweaver. They could play a Fist Weaving build with this on Runes of Lordaeron, I think. You get a little bit more protection as well with the Demo Warlock in terms of crowd control to keep the Mistweaver free of Cyclones. Just train down the Boomkin and find an opportunity. Maybe Axiom should play like a Lava Lash build instead of a Doomwinds build is the only thing I'm thinking. It just give him more damage outside of like a specific window that is less predictable.
Yeah, maybe just rot them down a little bit. I mean, we'll have to see. Definitely a lot to discuss heading into this one. This is the last chance for Casameta to stay in this. I mean, they fought really hard against Bamboozle to get here. That was a really close matchup. Definitely a bloodbath, but they are getting kind of destroyed a little bit in this series right now. 2 very quick games. Agents on match point. If they win this one, Casameta is knocked out, and the Agents will be moving forward. So they reverted to that same composition that they won the first series of the day against Bamboozle, and we'll definitely see if they can find success with that one. Also, because Supati has mentioned it, if you'd like to check out the builds that these players are running themselves, you can go to awc.gcd.tv, or you can check out the extension as well, courtesy of Wowhead for that information. You can look at their talents, their gear. These players are on Tournament Realm, so they can play basically the perfect rendition of their spec, which is definitely got to be a little bit fun to experiment with. And that being said, signups for Cup number 4 are still open, so definitely go check that out if you would like to play on the Tournament Realm, play against some of these players. Mathematically, you could still technically qualify. So we will see. It's 2-0 right now. The Agents dangerously close to knocking Casameta out of the tournament. What is going to happen here for potentially the final game on Runes of Lordaeron, Sid?
All right, it's Runes of Lordaeron's match point. It would be a fitting final resting place as it is a cemetery, but Mercy is looking so good on this Boomkin. He is showing no mercy in this series against Casameta, as they're displaying why the top 3. There's definitely a cutoff in the echelon in terms of the rankings for European teams. That top 3 is a whole nother league. Can Casameta turn this around? They started with a stun under Mercy, stun on Zeepai, already blasting down Mercy. He ducks into bear form. Is he going to die through it? This is massive pressure. He gets rescued back to the tombstone. Coiled for a moment. NST rolling straight back onto him. Zeepai getting spam feared. Doc's trying to take control of the DPS while his team stays on target and dishes out some damage. Mercy trying to run away while charging. Axiom is still maintaining uptime. Asgrath is getting offensive. Fully channeled fire breath there, trying to deter them from attacking Mercy, but they really can't get him off his back. Root Solar Beam is going to connect here into a deep breath. That is a triple. This could be scary. They actually don't find any damage. Were they going after the pet, though? I think they killed the Demonology Warlock pet. He's forced to use a fast cast summon. That's a 3-minute cooldown, so if they can kill that pet off again, it looked like they didn't do anything on that push with that triple, but they actually killed the lock pet, and if they can kill it a second time, it's basically dead for the rest of the game. And if you're a World Demo Warlock with no pet, you're basically not in the game. So let's see if the Agents can set that up. I see Star Surge is going on to the pet right now. Fury of Elune onto that Felguard. They're targeting down. They cyclone the Warlock to stop Health Funnel. They life cocoon the Felguard. They know if that pet dies that the game is pretty much over, and it looks like it's still alive. Might be rooted at the moment. Health Funnel's going through. I think the Felguard should survive.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on the Felguard from Docs. That was a great push from the Agents. We'll see if Casameta can sustain themselves deeper into this game right now, because they are dangerously close here from getting knocked out. The Agents definitely putting on the pressure. Casameta have had an excellent day so far, but it's all coming to a head here in game number 3. We'll see what they can do. We'll see if this pressure can turn around, because right now the Agent's really turning it on here. Mercy, he's got a lot of damage coming on top of him. He's going to be bear forming, trying to get away from it from just a little bit. But Docs, on the other hand, having to use that unending resolve, about 20% health here. Nesty, no cocoon available as well. His team is really vulnerable at the moment. Can Doc survive through this? He's caught in a cyclone, just getting pummeled right now from that Boomkin as well. But he is going to survive this. Yeah, it looks like his health his pet went down too, Sid.
Oh no, they're just gonna run it, Docs. Like, he's just gonna summon Felguard Simulator. Can he finish the cast? He gets stopped on it with a stun, and this is just gonna be Docs pressing summon Felguard. It looks like he's got the Grimoire Felguard, so he's going to call that one in. That's not the real demo pet, though. It's just like a substitute 2-minute cooldown. Maybe he's trying to create a distraction, but here comes Incarnation. He's got no Soul Link. He's taking so much damage. He gets pulled back in with that static field. He's just a sitting duck at the moment. All 3 members right on top of him, and I think this is it for him. Life Cocoon comes through. NST is doing whatever he can, but without that pet, they have no MS, so they lose out on the 20% healing reduction. They lose out on the Soul Link for the damage reduction. Like, Docs just can't do anything. He's trying to get back behind the pillar. He's trying to cast out spells, maybe fake through some interrupts before going for a summon Felguard behind the pillar, but his healer's in a Solar Beam. His Shaman's in a clone. It's 3-on-1, and that is it. The Agents are going to mop the floor with caster meta, and I think I'm understanding why their team named themselves this after this series.
God, don't blame them. Had a hard time with that caster composition for sure. They brought out a new composition every time, try to make something work, but in the end, it was not enough. They weren't able to take a game off of the Agents. So that's going to be a clean 3-0 from these guys. Are going to be moving on here to Championship Sunday. And unfortunately, that is it for caster meta, but they are going to walk away with some points to Patiz at the end of this cup.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see like the overall point standings at the end of the day for Europe, like who's starting to get more secure in that top 8. Caster Meta is a team where it feels like their aim is a top 8, like a gauntlet finish, and then hopefully the meta maybe isn't more in their favor at that point, to be able to try and climb through the ranks of the gauntlet, which is something to take into consideration. The meta is not in their favor at the moment, especially in this type of matchup, and the Agents knew exactly what they needed to do. The weakness of this comp was the pet. It's such an important component of their comp, and the Fistweaver healing is not really certain to heal the pet either, I would imagine. It can be so. It was really smart on the Agents to tactically go after this weak point. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and that Felguard was the weakest link, and they just completely fell apart after that point, and they executed on finishing the match really well. Because the one downside of the Boomkin Ellie comp can be finishing a game. You're really durable, high mobility, you can kite around a lot, but being able to close a game out like they just did, very skillfully with crowd control, like it can be tough to execute on. So the fact that they have this comp means that they're definitely a strong team in this lower bracket now.
Yeah, I mean, there really is no doubt about it. This is the second time we've seen this composition, just prior with Admiral Esports, now with the Agents, just play so aggressive. I mean, typically with these Wizard setups, you're playing very passive, very safe, trying to get to the long game, but this Moonkin Elemental Shaman just seems like such a force. They can play so aggressive with their instant cast damage and really keep the enemy team on the back foot. Unfortunately, that does mean that caster meta will be eliminated, but not a bad showing for them. And just picking up these points, making it into the top 8, the top 6 is going to be really important for them, Aya, making it into that overall top 8.
Yeah, definitely is going to be important getting to that top 8 here. This is a really stiff competition coming so far in the European region. Here's a look at the bracket as well. We can see here the Agents that we're talking about moving forward down into that lower bracket. So yeah, I think you're right when you say like this is a team that is here to win. They're a team here to qualify, and they're well on their way to doing that, I feel like, Ben.
Yeah, definitely no doubt about it. And that does mean we are going to be going to our last game of the day. We're going to get a chance to see the casual Granddads. They got a nice little pass there against BAMBOOZLE earlier on in the day. But now they're going to be going up against a very difficult MYWAY. Unfortunately for MYWAY, they find themselves in the lower bracket. They had kind of a tough series earlier on in the day, Sid. It seemed like they really didn't have an answer for what Admiral Esports was able to bring. Do you think that casual Granddads can kind of repeat that, or do you think casual Granddads is going to bring their own flair to this matchup?
I mean, can they play Ellie Moonkin? Like Alex been playing Moonkin, but Walrick has also been playing Moonkin. So who's the Ellie on the team? I don't know if they can play Ellie Moonkin. They'll probably play Rogue Mage. I think they played Rogue Mage last time into MYWAY, and it was really hard for them. So I could see them just playing Rogue Mage, honestly.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if the casual Granddads are going to be locking in kind of a Wizard setup. They're going to be bringing their Rogue Mage, but it is do or die for both of these teams, this elimination series, right after a quick break.
Welcome back, everyone. We are on the last series of the day. It's elimination as well. It's MYWAY facing off against Casual Granddads.
Yeah, I mean, MYWAY, they're going to be locking in that it's not a jungle. It's a jungle with a twist, with the balanced druid of Tony Luxia on that evoker once again. I feel like overall this has been
jungle.
Yeah, this has been their most successful composition that we've at least seen on broadcast. Casual Granddads, they're going to be bringing the subtlety rogue of Nixie with Walrick on the balanced druid. So this is very interesting to see both these teams. Seems like the balanced druid evoker is a really popular kind of combo in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time we've seen Rogue Moonkin, though, in Europe. Which is surprising considering how much we've seen it in North America. So let's see if the Casual Granddads can show what this composition can provide. I think it's going to be really tough for Casu and Tony in this type of matchup, but they're starting off with a bash onto Nixie, targeting down Walrick. Tony getting Solar Beam for a moment here. Not going to be causing too much damage. I'm not sure if he meant to do it. Maybe Luxia pre-moved on the Solar Beam, it looks like, in the opener here. Casu stunned, but Cyclones on Nixie's going to totally shut him down. Casu just getting aggressive. Now Walrick gets Cyclone. Tony's doing a good job rotating the Cyclones, keeping pressure onto Nixie. They force time dilation and evasion. Full freezing trap onto Clyde now. They're just killing Nixie through evasion right now. He's going to cloak, but Tony pre-bears the stun. Got great clones in the start. He pre-bears the stun. He's playing expertly on the balance turret so far in the initial stages.
Yeah, definitely really good control coming in from Walrick in the middle of the map right now. Cassie trying to get a setup here, but unfortunately not really able to find too much crowd control. Now into a stun. He's going to be very susceptible to these swaps. They can get crowd control onto Luxie at the same time they stun Casu. Those are going to be the setups we are looking for here. We have Clyde in a trap with Walrick under pressure. Luxia going to be trading out that Emerald Communion, and that is enough to top off Casu.
All right, let's see if they can keep aggressive here. Bash onto Nixie. Tony getting targeted down. Is he going to be able to duck for cover? There's a clone on his healer. He's just trying to heal himself. He fakes the interrupts, gets the clone, and tosses out some regrowths to support himself here as Luxia is now into a gouge. Kidney shot connects. Nixie's going to kill him by himself in the shadowy duel, possibly. Can he drop him in the stun lock? If not, he's just going to use renewal, I think, and survive. He's actually winning the 1v1 with Nixie in the duel. Nixie's falling behind. Time dilation has to trade again. Clyde rewinds, but they're getting destroyed and damaged. Walrix is now getting swapped too. He's down below half. Incarnation out for Tony. He's going to be a big threat right now. He's looking to take down Walrix in game number 1. Clyde is forced to use Emerald Communion, Trinket, everything but the kitchen sink on their side. And honestly, the Boomkin Rogue is not looking as good as I was anticipating right now.
Yeah, it seems like they're really struggling to actually find those consistent setups. MYWAY has handled it quite nicely so far. Cyclone's going to be coming in to make a setup here onto Tony, so maybe a bit of a target change. Get off Casu and just make more setups onto Tony in these matchups. Really just try to pressure down the balance druid if you can. Mana is in favor right now of MYWAY, so they have the long game going in their advantage. See if they can continue it. We have a full blind on Luxie. He's got the Trinket. Cassie right now in a stun, but with the Roar of Sacrifice and his crit immunity, that might be enough for him to survive. No one really has to make too big of a trade. Good job there by MYWAY, just trading out that minor Roar of Sacrifice to kind of nullify that setup.
The one class in the game that I think can kill a subtlety rogue pretty reliably is actually a hunter with flare and hunter's mark. You can track the rogue on his vanishes and actually scare him in situations where he might not otherwise be scared. And look at this, a freezing trap on the healer, interrupt onto Walrick, Nixie getting targeted, but he's actually going for a smoke bomb onto Casu. And this is disrespect. Casu's not even trinket. He looks like he pre-walled it. So he's just taking 0 damage. Really nice plays from MYWAY in terms of deflection. They're just shutting them down. But a double solar beam into a clone initiated by Walrus. They're going after Tony. He's interrupted. He ducks into bear. Is that going to be enough for him to survive? He's got heart renewal and Heart of the Wild. He's holding on to Heart of the Wild for now, but his healer's into another clone. Casu is rotted down. He cyclones Nixie, stalling down the game, targeting on Walrick, trying to force him back to the pillar in line of sight. Now they're going to switch to Nixie. Nixie not with a lot of options at the moment, but he's kidney shot the hunter, trying to keep him on the back foot. Time dilation comes through from Luxia here, and Casu should recover with that. Now they're trying to get aggressive. Defensive shadowy duel, I believe, here onto Luxia. Maybe Walrus is just trying to go kill him by himself, but he's getting cloned by Tony. He's not going to find any pressure with that. Mana is even at this point, so it's still anyone's match.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what they can do. Big setup here onto Tony. He's caught into cheap shots. What is he going to trade? Uses the bar skin to reduce some incoming damage. Now a setup here onto Casu. And Nixie's just going after multiple targets here. This is dangerous. We have a Cyclone onto Luxia right now, but a full Root Solar Beam onto Clyde at the same time into a trap. This is a good momentum shift here for MYWAY. Can they take down Walrick? It's a big heal there by Clyde. And now Luxia is in a kidney shot, just eating crowd control after crowd control. This is such a mess of a matchup. Everyone is just in the middle of the map. Casu barely holding on at 10% health. Trinket Turtle does come in, and it just makes it so chaotic. There's no line of sight. Everyone's getting Cyclone. Everyone's getting crowd control. Everyone's getting bursted down. Luxia gets blinded and will trade out his Emerald Communion. So just staying ahead of the damage. Now it's Warwick on the back foot. Clyde, how are you going to handle the situation? There's not much left in the tank. He's almost completely tapped on mana. MYWAY has a massive mana lead, and that could be what ends up winning in this game.
Full clone. Can they finish Nixie here? It's all Casu with that Cloak of Shadows up. Can they close out the game? Clyde is desperate, but he's still crowd controlled. No, he's connecting the heals. No, into a scatter shot. This could be it for Nixie, but he kidneys Casu. He drops a smoke bomb. He's going for an all-in on Casu. Can they take him down in time? 10% health remains. Luxia trinkets, rewinds all of the damage, but they cyclone the rewind, denying its recovery, and Walrick has been warming up on the balance turret throughout this game. It looked a little bit shaky earlier on, but now he's starting to make some plays. You can see the difference in damage as well, accumulating on that damage meter as Clyde's got his shroud up. He's trying to avoid crowd control. Nixie's retreating behind the pillar. They're getting cleaved by the pets around the corner, and Clyde's going to be tapped on mana in a moment if they don't make a push. Shadow Step comes in on Tony. He's going to bark skin the swap immediately. Time dilation is up. Tony should deflect it. Nixie's in trouble again. Is he just going to die through healing? Cyclone fakes by Tony. If he gets a precog proc, it's over. He cyclones Nixie low on his kidney shot, but now he gets cycloned by Walrix. He's not going to be able to turn that around. Stun on Clyde. They land this trap. I think it's night for Nixie. Clone onto Walrix. Nixie's is alone. Star Surges are incoming. Tony swapping it. Nixie's in so much trouble, almost in kill shot range. Is he going to go down? Defensive dual cheat death procs. The dots are ticking, but somehow Nixie is still alive at 10% health. Clyde comes through, pops the rewind. Tony fakes the kick, looking for a low clone, can't find it. Big swap onto Luxia, trying to pull off a miracle right now. I cannot believe it if Nixie wins from this position, but he will not be able to. Luxia's deep breath, locking him down and pinning him just in time for MYWAY to finish it. Walrus is trying to look for a 2v3, but I think with Heart of the Wild now pop from Tony, there should be no chance of that happening. And MYWAY are going to take game one with the Hunter Moonkin.
Yeah, I mean, this is really interesting coming in here from MYWAY. It looked good, though. Like, I feel like the Aurora Sacrifice is surprisingly effective against a Subtlety Rogue. If you can't crit, I mean, that burst damage, basically Subtlety Rogue, they have to crit and they have to find those damage in small windows. And if you can just consistently trade out that Roar of Sacrifice for, every other setup, you can definitely reduce a lot of that incoming damage and stay pretty durable in the match. And eventually, it's like you said, I mean, Nixie, he's just getting hit. It seems like pet classes in general are good against the Sub-Rogue, the Demonology Warlock, the Beast Mastery Hunter, just anything that can consistently do damage to the Rogue. Eventually can whittle through those defensive cooldowns. But I can't help but feel like a lot of this matchup did come down to the fact that Clyde just completely ran out of mana. So I don't know if he could have managed it a little bit better, and that would give them more of a late game edge. But just the amount of pressure Nixie's taking, I guess, just forces Clyde to spend a lot of mana to actually heal. You can see the game-winning setup here. Beautiful Cyclones coming in from the side of Tony, getting crowd control onto Clyde, and eventually it's just too little too late here for Nixie. Another Cyclone comes in from Clyde, but keep in mind, dampening is getting higher. He does get the rewind, but after that rewind, I mean, that's basically the last thing he can do. Nixie tries to go for some counter setups with stuns onto Luxia, stuns onto Tony. We have a Cyclone here onto Tony, but it's just more than enough with this deep breath coming in from Luxia for them to close out the game and put the first point on the board.
Yeah, really well done from MYWAY. I feel like casual Granddads, it's either this comp doesn't feel as rehearsed, or this is a matchup that they just didn't know what they wanted to do. I mean, you don't fight Moonkin Hunter probably if ever, and I'm not sure how much practice they put into it, considering this is the first time we've seen it. They were playing a lot of kind of Warlock Moonkin or Rogue Mage, so bringing Walrick and Nixie together like this, it seemed like their coordination wasn't there 100%. Walrick was doing a remarkable amount of damage throughout the game, so it's, to me, almost maybe a bit surprising that they didn't win on mana, considering Nixie also. But we need to see the scoreboard, I think, because I think Casu's damage is not represented accurately on details. It's probably like double that, I would think, at least. So damage should be in favor, even with Walrick's doing so much more. Also, as the balance druid with the Hunter, you're not really dotting the healer. Your dots are getting reset with Freezing Trap. You're not really intending to dot the healer, so your damage is going to be lower, I think, than Walrick's in this type of matchup. Possibly not this much lower, but definitely lower. And when we move to the details, I think that's going to show a better outline of it. So yeah, Cass actually did top damage. That's why he zoomed. That details is not tracking BF Hunter damage. He's actually had damaging the Boomkins here in the first game. And I mean, they won. So even though Tony is doing less overall damage, it's sometimes more about how effective you are, especially in a matchup like this. He needs to peel for Casu, protect Casu, and dump Star Surges during windows that are opportune for his team, as opposed to just kind of like padding the meter.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to shout out. It's not always about overall damage. It sometimes certainly can come down to that, like who's doing more damage overall, but Sometimes it comes down to who's doing damage at the right times, who's finding crowd control, and if your win condition really is getting the crowd control on the healer and bursting someone down in that small window, then you're definitely going to want to have more of a concentrated damage number. You can see here twitch.tv/Aluxia. Some of the players are streaming their point of views. So if you want to, you could check those out. If you're interested to see what Luxia's point of view is, definitely a shout out to him, a phenomenal healer. Really, really good on that preservation evoker. Been kind of a rock star on this roster for quite some time now.
Yeah, definitely. One of the kind of styling healers. Usually he's playing aggressive with his team and kind of getting in the fight. He's had to take a little bit more of a passive stance with this comp, but that deep breath he got at the end of the game, probably game winning with the fact that it hit the enemy healer. At the same time, they had the rogue and a bash. So definitely a very stylish healer in terms of offense and defense, really well rounded. Their compositions, I wouldn't say have been like, in the meta. I wouldn't say Hunter Moonkin is like this oppressing comp that everybody's playing and is kind of overruling everything. So the fact that they're still making top 8 appearances, taking games off strong opponents, even despite that, is very impressive. And they're a team that I think is like really trying hard to make sure they're in the gauntlet, see if things change for them in their favor when they get to that stage, or maybe they can find a different composition. Like we've seen specs popping up even since week 1. Like now Shadow Praise seems to be a real force to be reckoned with moving forward. So there's always things being uncovered as time moves forward. Casual Dads pick Hook Point. They're picking a small map. Makes sense if they're going to be running some type of rogue composition. They're keeping the same comp as in game number 1. They're not bringing the mage in yet, and I do wonder if they lose here, if that's when we'll see Alec, or maybe if it's possible that Alec isn't here, type of situation for their team. But I feel like if they play a clean game, that this should be a winnable matchup.
I think if I was a mage, like you're gonna have to play Fire Mage, and Fire Mage against Boomkin BM Hunter might be a bit of a struggle. Playing Glass Cannon into a BM Hunter, we saw how much damage Cassie was doing. Might be a little bit less durable in this matchup, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Casual Granddads can win this one. I mean, it was pretty close. Even their last setup where Nixie was basically almost completely dead, didn't seem like they were really going to be able to do too much. It seemed like they almost turned it around. They had the stun onto Luxia, I believe onto Casu as well. So there was close calls in the match, and you do get the feeling that they can get the setups just a little bit cleaner. That Casual Granddads definitely can win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a situation where MyWay's comp should win every game. It's more or less, I think, Casual Granddads figuring out the matchup, what's the best target. Most importantly, they need to stop Tony from cloning on their goes. I feel like every single go, somebody was cloned, and you're not going to win if that happens. So saving Clyde's interrupt, as it's the only ranged interrupt, or cheap shotting Tony or bashing Tony into a clone, like making sure that Tony's out of the fight before they send their damage on their attack is going to be super important, because he was just so disruptive. It was every time Nixie's cloned on the kidney or Walrick gets cloned on the kidney, and you have to interrupt that cyclone during your Shadow Dance, or your push is not going to be enough.
It's got to be really clean, right? I mean, Nixie could, in theory, get stuns on all 3 members, but I think it's just going to come down to more of Walrick needs like a solar beam, Clyde needs an interrupt, like you mentioned, maybe a bash into a cyclone, but they definitely need to cover Tony. And I feel like if Casual Granddads, like, you should be able to take Casu down, right? Like Lexi, of course, is going to have his trinket. He's going to have his Emerald Communion. Casu is going to have his trinket. But if you're doing clean setup after clean setup, eventually I do feel like you definitely can win. The Roar of Sacrifice is obviously coming in huge, and I feel like Casu does a really good job kind of preemptively using that at really high health, and that's going to be the most value you can get from that spell to kind of bolster your health and your defense, so you're not being taken down in these stun locks. So yeah, just a back and forth matchup. Hook point, small map. I really don't know how much the map's actually going to matter, because it seemed like everyone was just kind of in a small little space, right? Like no one even went to a pillar on the Grand. Everyone was just in the middle, just eating cyclones and crowd controls and damage. So I kind of feel like hook point might be something similar. However, it might be easier for Nixie to escape and kind of run away. So if everyone's in the open and you're the main target as Nixie, maybe it's going to be easier for him to pop sprint, get to a pillar, and try to avoid some of this damage.
Yeah, also switching healer, like MyWay, I don't think can ever kill Clyde, whereas Casual Granddads could very easily kill Luxia. So on this map, it gets him involved more and creates that as more of an opportune moment to take. So I think it makes sense for the Casual Granddads almost offensively to go for this map. I think killing the healer would be really good. Like all you'd have to do is stun Tony to stop him from cloning, and what's Casu going to do to help Luxia? Like, I'm attacking the rogue. That's all you're pretty much going to offer as a hunter in terms of defense for your healer, like a Roar of Sacrifice every other go. Even that might not be enough for him to survive. So as long as they kick Tony's Cyclone and they're going after Casu or Luxia, like this matchup, Casual Granddads, I think, should be able to win.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll be getting a hook point here shortly. This is going to be our final series of the day. So see if Casual Granddads can stay alive. This is a team we've talked about them a lot. They kind of sign up to these tournaments and they coast, right? They just try to make it into the top 8, try to eventually make it into the finals. And if they can, that's when they really start practicing and preparing and kind of level up as a roster. But in this stage, a lot of the time, they kind of take it slow. But it seems like they can. I mean, they're such skilled players at this point. They understand the game so well and their win conditions that they're still a really difficult opponent. So we'll see what MYWAY is going to be able to do, bringing in a really unorthodox composition. It seems like in Europe, it's very standard to like have the base of your composition be this Evoker plus Balance Druid. It's kind of surprising to me that we're not seeing like more priests and more shamans. It seems like Evoker is like 90% of the healers played at the moment.
It's got to be a lack of subtlety rogue teams. Like if Casual Granddads get this Moonkin Rogue online and going, like this is one of the most difficult types of things to deal with as an Evoker healer. You get your Trinket and your Emerald Communion, and then like not a lot really outside of that. You can like try and pre-immune a setup with a Deep Breath or something like this, but you become really exposed at that point. So in North America, like, well, we got Calvish, we got Peekaboo queuing up pretty frequently in North America. Naj, I think, is also now in the top 6 for this week. So their team has improved. Trill has been playing Subtlety Rogue a lot more now. Like almost half the bracket every week has been, Subtlety Rogues. Whereas in EU, it's like Waz, but he's also the Boomkin. So he plays the Boomkin and nobody else can play Rogue into him. So he can just kind of run away with it the whole time, it seems like. Unless a team like Casual Granddads can get that composition leveled up.
Yeah, we'll see what the Casual Granddads are going to be able to do. Can Nixie, the Subtlety Rogue, pressure Luxia enough in this match? Seems like their kind of standard setup, going for crowd control and Luxia weren't working out so good, but I think if you pressure the Evoker, there are a lot more opportunities and swap opportunities for you in the match. Nixie moving forward, sees Tony and Stell potentially not able to find the sap. It was a close call. Nixie looks like he will be opening up, spamming out some cheap shots there, trying to remove the crowd control immunities of Luxia, but not a great start here for Casual Granddads.
Yeah, not the best opener. Tony interrupted. Solar Beam on Luxia. They need to make sure they crowd control the pet. I think, they Cyclone the pet. So Root Beam the healer and Cyclone the pet can be a really good combo, but they don't stun anybody. So that setup was completely wasted there for the Casual Dads. They're not going to get anything out of that Solar Beam. Deep Breath comes through from Luxia, hitting multiple members. Nixie's chasing down Tony, but he pre-bears the stun, and pre-bear with time dilation, no way he dies. They have to swap. They're going on Casu instead. Roar Sacrifice on the bomb. Luxia rescues him out of the smoke bomb, and another attack just completely denied by MYWAY in this position. If they keep up this kind of defense, man, I think they're going to take this matchup pretty easily.
Yeah, we'll see. Luxia has done a great job with setup denial here so far. Tony as well with crowd control, looking for Cyclones here on this Moonkin. Nixie has struggled so far in this match, did not get a good opener. The pre-bear form time dilation, the rescue. It's been a struggle for him to get damage, and it seems like Casual Granddads is just falling further and further behind. Finally, they connect to a target, but it is Walrick on the back foot, who's just getting absolutely blasted here. Does get topped off, but now Nixie's getting swapped too. Clyde really needing to play catch-up at this point, but he is in crowd control. It's like you should be able to keep him alive through the evasion. Maybe not, though. Nixie's just under so much pressure. Clyde now into a bash. Tony looking for a Cyclone, manages to find it, apply high winds, now into a full trap. I mean, this is just an absolute nightmare. MYWAY playing this one out beautifully, but they're going for the one-shot. Here it is, the one-shot KO. Can they take down Casu? He does trade out the Trinket. Is that enough to survive? Does he have to trade out the Turtle as well? It does not look like it. Casu survives, but now it's really going to be up to the Casual Granddads if they can continue these setups, because it has been a struggle for them so far in this match.
You got a medallion from Casu. They still have Shadowy Duel, so he's definitely a target here in this matchup. And they just need to make sure they're looking for that opportunity and taking it as soon as possible. But Nixie's in trouble. He's making a push, but he's just dying at the same time. Is he going to be able to stay in the fight? Clyde connecting some miracle heals, but even that does... Oh, that Cyclone! That is literally the lowest Cyclone I've ever seen in the AWC. He's dead out of that. He's not dead out of that? How is he not dead out of that? Emerald Communion comes in clutch
at 0.001%, but there's a Cyclone onto the healer. Nixie is alone once again. Cloak comes up in 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Can he make it to that? He's caught in a bash. He trinkets 5 seconds away, and he won't. And MYWAY lock it out here on the small map, and they're looking so good on this composition.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely beautiful. I feel like you got to give a lot of credit here to Tony on the Balance Druid. Did a great job with Cyclone, rotating it on the DPS, rotating it on the healer. And as a Balance Druid, if you are good with this ability, you can really kind of dictate the match. I feel like another great thing that MYWAY did was they managed to diffuse the opener so well. Like, they not only denied a good opener here from Nixie, but they also managed to basically stop the first couple setups with pre-bear forms, you know, the rescues on the smoke bombs, things like this. It just seemed like it was far too long before casual Granddads was able to really get anything going. It just felt like Nixie was on the back foot for a majority of this game.
I kind of wonder if this Cyclone didn't land, if Nixie would have just died. I want to see, like, was Clyde in any CC when that clone hit? Because I've literally never seen a clone as low as that clone was. Maybe we didn't catch the clone in the replay. I think we do right here. Maybe
That's right here.
The kill moment. So Clyde's not in any CC. Yeah, I think. I mean, he wasn't expecting him to get bursted. I mean, he's probably dead. He's got cheat death. I don't know. I mean, you stun the healer and trap him. You're thinking it's over, right? Like right here on this next global out of the clone. You're thinking it should be game over. And how does it hit him before he dies? Like how? Oh cheat my
death.
God.
Yeah, cheat death still.
Oh, the cheat death triggers. He duels so that he can't be in line of sight of Kasu, and then Emerald Communion just ticks him back up to full. Like, dude, that... I mean, I want to say like that was pretty skilled, but also a little bit lucky to come back from that. And then the fact that they just get the clone for follow-up after that, they just completely finish him, basically kill him twice in that same push. So it's looking rough for them. And I mean... I don't think it should look this rough for them. Like I think this is a matchup that Moonkin Rogue should be able to do good in.
One thing that I think is worth mentioning is I do think that one of the big struggles for an Evoker is going to be that Root Solar Beam, right? And the Evoker, I mean, if you're playing with a Hunter, you actually have the Master's Call, so you have that freedom from the pet, which I think is actually really nice, kind of extra utility the Hunter brings. And then it's all of a sudden something that they don't really have to deal with as much. They have to actually cross the pet, otherwise he's just going to be able to get him out of the root. That is one little edge that MYWAY has in this matchup.
It definitely is. And I mean, casual Granddads, they could bring in maybe a different healing class is what I'm wondering. I'm just like Clyde playing like a priest, a gnome priest, probably would be really good in this type of matchup because Hunter Moonkin's probably not going to kill your healer. So like a gnome holy priest would be really good. They get chastised for cross on the Moonkin. They can just each pick a target. All right, I'm CCing this target on the go. It's really clean, simple. You know, not gonna have any overlaps or any gaps in that type of situation. I feel like it would be likely better for them bringing the priest. You also get the pre-fade potentially on crowd control. You get a little bit more avoidance. You get probably same amount of damage or close to it. I feel like holy priest damage now with the buffs actually in a comp like Moonkin Rogue is really good. Like your holy fires are hitting like as hard as a Star Surge. You get that with Imperial Blaze. You get 3 instant holy fires in a row. Like that's really good on Moonkin Rogue. Honestly, I think holy priest might be a better healer for the comp. In this matchup, 100% it's a better healer, but I'm actually wondering maybe if overall Holy Priest is the better healer now.
Did you know that? I mean, this is a composition that Liquid has played a lot, and I think C2 actually is favoring the Holy Priest. Like, he's been playing it quite a bit, so I think he might be onto something with that. But we'll have to wait and see what the casual Granddads do. They do have Alec, of course, on their roster. I think Alec does play a little Warlock. But I guess it wouldn't make too much sense. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I guess they would just have Walrek probably play the Warlock, and maybe Alec play the Balance Druid, just bring in like that composition. I'm not entirely convinced of the sub rogue. At first, I feel like casual Granddads actually had the edge in this matchup, and maybe if they could, you know, get a good opener and good kind of momentum, could be good for them. But it seems like it's been a struggle so far in this match. So I wouldn't be surprised if they mix it up here on Dalaran Sewers.
If they can't get offense, BM Hunter just seems really good at killing Rogue. Like, there's very few things in the game other than another Rogue that we've seen so far
and
that actually feels good. I mean, is it killing the Rogue? I feel like it's more like you can survive a long time against the Rogue. But as Hunter, like flaring the Rogue when he vanishes, Hunter's mark, like vanish is the main reason Rogues are so difficult to kill, and Hunters have the main mechanics to see through that defense as long as they can stay alive, because usually they're just exploding and they don't get to the point where they can use that offensive advantage. But the fact that Kasu isn't exploding means that he can just run the Rogue down, and this might actually be a decent Rogue killing composition. for them overall in the tournament. Casual Granddads, they're taking their time. I mean, they really want to make sure they're getting points here. This is the third cup, only one more left. If you don't want to be losing here to MYWAY and not have a chance to get more points, make sure that you're getting into the gauntlet, maybe even in that top 4 position in the future. And yeah, Clyde's going to go to Holy Priest. I think this makes a lot of sense. You just pick a target. It's like, okay, I'm Chastise fearing this guy. You kidney attack that guy. I'll slow beam this guy. All right, 3, 2, 1. Go and then do damage, all bursted at the same time, and you're gonna have the gnome to be able to get out of the solar beams. So I think this is a lot better for casual Granddads.
And me too. Just less crowd control, more setup potential, and that's what they need with the subtlety rogue. They really need to isolate one target. They can't allow anyone to be free in the match. If Tony's not crossed, then he's just going to easily shut down the ghost with cyclones and bash and solar beam, and it becomes an absolute nightmare. So this should, in theory, work a lot better here for the casual Granddads, bringing in the Holy Priest. I'll have to wait and see exactly how it does play out, but you did mention it. I mean, it's just so important to start picking up more and more points. This is the third cup. There's only one left after this. Signups are still open, by the way, if you are wanting to sign up. But yeah, there's only one cup left here for casual Granddads. They need to make sure that they're doing a good job. They have done it so far, but this has just seemed like a really difficult matchup for them. But if they could somehow come back in this, that would be huge for their overall standing.
All right, let's see if they can turn it around. The Holy Priest swap over. This could be a really scary composition. Has a lot of burst damage. And with the gnome racial, to be able to get a solar beams means that the crowd control for MYWAY is basically cut in half in this position. Also, I think Greater Fate is a little bit more reliable than Shroud. Being with on a 20-second cooldown with talents, you can just immune for 1.5 seconds any crowd control or damage. It's really effective to avoid CC. They've got the Shadow of Death to potentially threaten avoiding traps if they can avoid, delay the trap off of the stun. So I think this is a really good adaptation. Hopefully the casual dads are honestly warmed up with this composition, because I feel like MYWAY, like this seems really prepared on their part as far as how they want to execute. Like that crowd control chain, the fact that they didn't like fall off when Nixie lived at that one moment, they still were playing to win. Like they seem really good and polished at this comp, even though it seems a little bit peculiar to bring into the competition. Whereas casual dad seems like they're kind of trying to find their footing with this comp, like figure out what the best targets are, how to coordinate their crowd control. So casual Granddads really need to get that together if they're going to reverse sweep.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a nice small map, so setup should be a lot easier, but it's also difficult to run away. And it's been really interesting to see that dynamic you talked about with the Hunter versus the Rogue. Subtlety Rogue, you've got a lot of vanishes, you've got a lot of ways to escape, but the Hunter kind of denies that. So you may be baited into kind of a false sense of security. If you can get the clean vanish, obviously you're going to survive as the Rogue, but as a Hunter, especially when you're playing against an all-star Hunter, it becomes really difficult because those flares are already going to be there when you're low, and that takes away a lot of your defense that you really do rely on during those kind of emergency situations. So it's been an interesting dynamic to see, and even though MYWAY is playing kind of an unorthodox composition, they put their own little flair on it. I like that Tony has mixed it up, playing some different specializations, not just on that Feral Druid anymore. We've seen him play the Assassination Rogue, and it seems like he's just willing to pick up these specs that are a lot more meta, and that's kind of, talking about MYWAY, I feel like it was a criticism we had of them in the past, and it's a criticism we've had of a lot of teams in the past, but it's been nice to see a lot of them kind of adapt, mix up the classes they're playing, mix up the compositions that they're playing, and it seems like, these kind of dynasty teams such as MYWAY, they're just really flexible in their picks.
Yeah, being flexible is going to be really important. Meta changes happening so frequently, especially in Dragonflight. If you're not ready to pivot to something that could become really powerful, and other teams are, you're just going to be at the mercy of trying to overcome that adversity. The game is about to start, and it could be a 3-0 for MYWAY, and Clyde is really hoping that his Holy Priest substitute here is going to be enough, that gnome racial to get out of solar beams is going to be enough for them to be able to pull this series back in their favor. Holy Priest is becoming really strong right now. I've been enjoying playing it myself. Honestly, might be taking like my number one favorite healer to play. So really interested to see how Clyde is going to utilize it here to try and reverse sweep against MYWAY. Luxia is just flying in across the battlefield right away from that pipe with that hover. Cassie's got a flare down. They're trying to find somebody in stealth and grab combat. I would imagine so that Luxia isn't going to lose his shroud in the opener here, but he's still holding the shroud. They still haven't found it. Oh, Landslide finds Nixie here, sniping him off the side with that root, slowing down the opener a bit. The surprise attack's going to be lost. With oh, he pre-rescued the bomb.
Goodness.
Oh my, that's a tilter. That's a tilter.
Nixie is just not having fun in this matchup. I mean, this is the Normally it's the subtlety rogue that's frustrating you, but this is like one of the first matchups I've seen where, as a subtlety rogue, this is just absolutely brutal. I mean, Nixie is just really struggling to find the damage, to find the setups. Now he's disarmed. Like, what is going on? Nixie just cannot connect. Finally gets a cheap shot here on Tony. Do they have the damage to take him down? Luxie is there to block and defend. This is the incarnation of Tony as well, so really wanting to get aggressive here in this situation. Can he find the damage? Doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Clyde right now into a full Cyclone. Where is the damage here for the side of MYWAY, though? Seems like everyone is kind of topped off. Another setup here incoming from Nixies. He lands a kitty shot onto Casu, but he shrugs that one off. Beautiful Cyclones coming in from Tony to slow down the damage, but I believe that was a Master Spell from the side of Clyde to free Nixie and allow him to continue to be aggressive. But now Clyde's in a trap, and Nixie is on his way behind the pillar. Beautiful deep breath here from Luxie as he's looking to set up his team for a win. Can they do it? Clyde looks like he has the cooldowns to block, entering that Archangel, just spamming out the flash shields, and likely will be able to keep his team alive throughout this setup, but just slowly but surely, MYWAY seems like they're pulling ahead.
All right, Walrick knocked off the side. We saw Clyde jumping into that Spirit of Redemption. He's used Apotheosis, so Clyde doesn't have a lot of cooldowns. He's stunned. If they land this trap, they land the trap. Nixie's on the run on the pillar. They could swap to Walrick. He's out in the open. They bash him. Fire Breath being lined up. Cyclone out of the trap. Walrick's is not really taking that much damage, though. They Solar Beam the Cyclone and Cyclone him low and then switch the damage onto Nixie here. And Clyde's going to have to pick his heals very carefully. He's running out of charges of Serenity. He's going to Ray of Hope, but I think it's going to be a negative Ray. Both members are dying at this point. He has like practically no healing. He might have to Void Shift. He dies through the Ray. He has to Void Shift on top of it. Walrus is topped off. Clyde pulls off a miracle right here. Tony's interrupted. They're trying to turn it around, but this just seems to be like the MYWAY show. Here comes another trap. Nixie disarmed on the trap, so he can't help into a full clone. Nixie on the run with evasion, but the pets are going behind him. Is he going to turn face here? He stuns up the Hunter to try and stall the damage, but they just have no pressure. Roar Sacrifice is up, reducing the crits. Tony pre-bears the stun. He's looking A-okay. MYWAY, they came to play, man. They came to play here. Emerald Communion on the swap. Luxie's going to take no damage, and they're going to turn this around fast. Clyde has basically nothing. If he doesn't pre-Guardian Angel on this next crowd control chain, I think it's over for their team.
Yeah, Cassie really representing Hunters here in this matchup. Getting it done. A bash here onto Clyde. Nixie trying to escape. Looks like he might be able to, but he's just slowly rotting down. Does he have any heals? I think Walrick's throwing in a regrowth, but the Vanish does come out. It's a clean one, and that means Nixie will survive for the time being, but now a trap on Clyde. He's just in endless amounts of crowd control in this matchup. You got a Druid as well as a Hunter just bowling you with interrupts and silences and cyclones and traps and scatters and bashes, and oh my, I mean, this is just such a struggle here for Clyde. Nixie's still running down low, but they're looking to reverse the pressure. Good cyclone here by Walrick, looking to set up his team. Tony at 50% health, Cassie rotting down as well. Luxie has to play catch up here, but there's really not many cooldowns to work with. Needs to get out some big heals. It's a good momentum swing there by Casual Granddads, playing it cool.
Yeah, I mean, they might be able to still win this. No trinket on the Hunter, clone on Luxia, pressure on Tony. Clyde's in Spirit of Redemption. He can't be crowd controlled. Casu's on the back foot. Time dilation may not be enough. Casu is so low. They go for the kidney shot anyways into the cooldown. They step kick Luxia on a heal. Tony's desperately trying to clone. He gets a clone on the rogue. He knocks Walrick off the side. Clyde as well to buy some space. They are ahead on mana. I think keep their pressure going onto Nixie here. Fire Breath comes out. Stun onto Clyde. Looking to snipe a trap. Does he land it? They land the freezing trap. This is the trinket. Guardian's Angel immediately, but Tony's trying to clone him. He gets cheap shot. Big damage. Barkskin's available. Is he going to die through Barkskin? Rescue shield comes through from Luxia. That should be enough for Tony to survive in this position. And now there's no trinket on Nixie, no trinket on Clyde. If they can set up crowd control on Clyde here, Nixie's just going to fall over. He edges the smoke bomb, trying to finish him here, but Luxia is ready for it. Jumps back into the side of it, picks Casu up in a jiffy, and now Nixie's in the back foot. Fury of Elune, double Solar Beam, chasing them down. Clyde needs to get out of that Solar Beam, but he doesn't have his Gnome Racial? Why doesn't he have his Gnome Racial? He's getting stunned up. Nixie's got evasion, but it might not matter. It's match point, full freezing trap, and I think that is it for Nix. How is he alive right now? A full clone now. He duels defensively. He's going for a solo kill on Luxia. Is Nixie going to pull off the miracle? Renewing Blaze activates, and I think Luxia will survive, but now Casu is low. He's got to pick up two teammates. I can't believe Nixie survived that. Clyde has absolutely zero mana. Nixie on the back foot. They're going for the kill. He cloaks, but it doesn't matter. Casu is all over him, and Casual Granddads just did not have an answer. MYWAY make it to Championship Sunday.
And they're looking good. It's just, you love to see it. I mean, Hunters right now, they are not something that you often see picked. It's pretty much just MYWAY playing it as far as I can remember this entire season, but he makes it look really, really good. So MYWAY, really impressive performance here, bringing in the Moonkin Hunter Evoker. Cassie doing a phenomenal job showcasing all three specializations here today, but it is going to be that Beast Mastery Hunter that ultimately finds a success here against the Casual Granddads. And it was difficult for Nixie. I mean, he is just under pressure consistently throughout the match. The setups were really difficult for him to find as well. It just didn't seem like they had the proper cross for Tony. And that is one of the things about this composition is you have limited interrupts, right? Like you have a lot of stuns and controls and obviously cyclones, but for actually stopping Tony, there's not that many stops. Like you don't have a counter spell. You do have the solar beam, but it's just not enough lockdown in the match. And Nixie just pulling off miracle after miracle. Clyde and Walwork doing what they can to keep him alive, but there's just so many close calls on Nixie that eventually they just ran out of time. They ran out of cooldowns, and MYWAY was able to pull off a win. But there was moments of pressure. I mean, MYWAY was definitely pressured heavily in this match on the small map.
Yep, but they just deterred it. The pre-plays, they anticipate all their attacks, keep them at a distance. And this comp looked really good for killing a rogue. I want this comp to be tested like a little bit more against other teams and subtlety rogues to see if this could be maybe a possible counter answer. Especially like in North America, given how prevalent it is. Like it's just determined as like the best spec. Maybe some BM Hunter comps with the Flare and the Hunter's Mark could be a decent answer for it. But that's going to be it here for Europe. Quite a quick day. I think a lot of 3-0s is every single. They won one best of 5 in the first round. It's been 3-0 since then. So we're starting to see some. Well,
and one team that forfeited, so it's just been quick day. Sorry, go ahead.
But moving forward now, I feel like we're seeing like a clear line being drawn of like these are the top 4 teams, the top 3 teams for sure, right, between Echo, Admirals, Esports, and the Agents, and then it's like everybody else trying to like battle to see if they can get that 4th spot.
Yeah, no, I mean I think that's kind of been the pattern for both regions. Always there's always just like a couple teams up there that get impossible to catch up to early on in these qualifying cups, and we're definitely seeing that pattern continue here in Europe. So here is a look at the bracket where we will be picking up on Championship Sunday. 4 teams left for cup number 3. The Agents will be facing off against MYWAY in that elimination round. We'll see who makes it out of that lower bracket. Echo, Admirals, Esports, that's going to be the semifinal as well. And it's just like these 2 teams constantly, we see them face off against each other so many times, Ven, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see those 2 get back up to that grand final.
Yeah, definitely. I actually wanted to add on what Sabitis was saying, where we're seeing like kind of a top 3, top 4 dominance in Europe. I would say I would even put, I'll be bold enough to say that Echo is actually a cut above everyone else. I think no one is even close to Echo at this point. Like, I think it's the Agents, Admiral Esports, MYWAY trying to catch up to Echo, as they're just completely untouched this season. They've been looking really good. That being said, you mentioned we've seen Admiral Esports go up against Echo quite consistently. That was the final of the Cup number 2 last weekend. But the finals was a blowout. It was a complete blowout in favor of Echo. However, the series before that, where they met, it was actually really close. So I'm wondering if Admiral Esports can kind of get back to that point where it is going to be a really close series between their 2 teams, or if Echo is going to kind of continue their dominance.
Yeah, I am curious as well, but we can only wait until Sunday to find out. But you are absolutely right. I mean, even if mathematically, once we get those standings tallied, like Echo is definitely quite a few points ahead of his 2nd place. So I can only guess that they're going to continue on their streak. Have we looked at predictions yet of what we predicted for this region? I'm assuming which teams did you guys predict for 1st and 2nd for EU? Or they're just gonna show it.
Now we can't lie or keep it a secret. Echo and Admirals Esports, you guys are still believers of the Agents.
Of course, you're not.
I feel like they've been struggling to figure out like what's going to be their comp for the tournament. Now they've got the Boomkin Ellie. Like, is that going to be their main focus? Because it looked really good in this last series. But if they could get that Shadow Priest Rogue Shaman, I really want to see. It's not going to happen, but like I really want to see Golden Guardians against Echo, because it's that type of matchup. Like, why can no European teams emulate what is being done in North America?
Yeah, that is definitely a question, but here is the predictions. Let us know in chat who you're predicting for the EU region, but Sid mentioned North America, and that being said, we are heading into NA tomorrow, and we've got a whole bunch of awesome series lined up for that as well. First off of the day, we're starting down in that elimination bracket, and Unitas finally made it to top to
Of course. I mean, it's going to be great. We got Aiden, Chaz, Thugonomics, and Abrua. I'm really surprised that Unitas has struggled as much as they have. I mean, competition is high, but that is an all-star lineup. I mean, you have really solid players. Chaz coming in from Europe, so maybe that's what's going on. But I think there are a few surprises when looking at this bracket. You have Liquid immediately in an elimination series. They've been really dominant so far this season, but they had a difficult matchup against Shuffle Police. And Shuffle Police, I think, is the big surprise. We got Naj, Shifter, Aegis, and Sleepyhead. This isn't the first time we're seeing them in the AWC. They've been relatively consistent this season, but this is the first time we're seeing them in that upper bracket position. And they looked really good. They're playing the Moonkin. They're playing similar compositions as to what we've been seeing in Europe. They're playing Moonkin, Subtlety Rogue, as well as Sleepyhead on that Evoker, that Preservation Evoker. And he's been a rock star. Like, he kind of he rose up in solo shuffle. He's been picked up by some really good players, a really good roster. And I think he's been a really impressive player to watch grow.
Yeah, definitely a growing star in AWC, incredible player. So excited to see him on Shuffle Police. But no, I mean, Van, you're right. We've got a lot of teams that definitely powerhouses down there in that elimination bracket. So any of those teams that do get knocked down there, I'm sure are going to be watching their backs. But we've got some pretty big matches up top as well in that upper bracket. Golden Guardians pretty much almost undefeated, -1 map. So they've been having an incredible season. They're going to be facing off against Luminosity, who we've kind of used to being in a winning streak, but haven't had quite the same success this season, Sid.
I mean, the fact they beat Dukamified, which were the finalists last week, is a huge improvement for Luminosity Gaming. And every week is just more practice for them on the Subtlety Rogue, I would imagine. So this is like another chance for them to go head-to-head with the Golden Guardians and see if they're ready to match them, or if they've changed anything for this matchup. But I'm imagining they're going to be going into mirrors. And so for them, it's just all about Drake getting more reps on the Sub-Rogue and trying to get him as close to Peekaboo as possible.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll just see if they can get through that adjustment phase. But yeah, Golden Guardians, incredible season so far. Shuffle Police, Super One-Shot Frogs. That's also the next series in that upper bracket that we are going to be seeing. So make sure everyone is tuning in tomorrow if you'd like to root for your favorite North American team. But that wraps up today's games. So we will see you once again on Championship Sunday. If you want to tune in for NA, make sure you are here, same time, same place, twitch.tv/Warcraft, or on YouTube as well. And also make sure you are following us on Twitter at WoW Esports. And don't forget that signups for Cup number 4 are closing. They're open for the moment. So definitely make sure you get those signups in if you'd like a chance to compete in the 4th and final cup for those qualifying matches. And that being said, thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific or 7 p.m. CEST.